mean, from Alice Wahome to Ndindi Nyoro to whoever else was in this entire forum, Muhammad Ali, everybody, exactly. Everybody then had opportunity. Everybody had a chance. The grandstands were up. The fans were in the bleachers. Everybody was listening at this point, and nobody lost the opportunity to speak about themselves in one way or another. So it was very interesting to see that this was also used as a stage where people could then make their aspirations or ambitions very clear.
It was a small matter that was just blown out of proportion. Sometimes I also look at it and see, okay, so why is the government actually doing this, right? Like the issue of Miguna, all right? So there's a court order says come back home. Then there's a commitment by the government to say that he comes home, we'll allow him to come. And he can use whatever documentation he requires.
He needs.
And then the next thing you're hearing the government spokesman saying, yeah, there's a red alert, because of this and the other. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs will sort it out in due course. Miguna is still out there somewhere.
We don't know where he is.
Somewhere.
Has anybody asked where he is? Is he still languishing in an airport somewhere in the middle of Berlin? Is he in Paris? Is he in Frankfurt? Has he gone back to Ontario?
He's no longer news. Now the news is Moses
It's now Moses Kuria, and people have moved on swiftly.
And he has stopped tweeting. Stop tweeting. He told us to organize and stop.
Viva.
And stop bothering him. So people basically followed his advice. They stopped bothering him. So whenever you're ready, you come. Right. We are organizing. Viva. City, how was your weekend?
Quiet.
One of those, right?
My weekends tend to be quiet. They're purposed that way. I have actually found no logic in ensuring that I involve myself in activities that guarantee that come Monday I'm even more tired than I was on Friday. So I tend to take it as easy as much as I possibly can. Probably the only vigorous activity I engage in is reading the newspaper.
Good morning,
That's
City.
all.
Yes, I do read the papers.
Back to back.
Oh, yes. Back to back.
Front to back.
Oh, yes. That I most certainly do.
Mm-hmm. So it's the same headline, similar headline to what you have in The Nation is on the Standard. It's now Ruto versus Kenyatta and Raila.
Actually, this is a situation where we are hyping the situation. We're actually hyping it. On Sunday, they had a very interesting headline in The Nation. Ruto locked out of official residence.
Yes.
And I thought official residence in Karen. Then I discovered there's another official residence in Mombasa.
Exactly.
That headline was a bit cheeky.
Was a bit cheeky, that's for sure.
Because the first thing that you read, you're like, what?
Karen? What?
Yes, and then they give you details of this and the other and this and the other. It takes me back to a time when we seemed to focus a great deal on what we called, should we say, polling and the results thereof. And there was a time when one Kalonzo Musyoka was leading in the polls seriously. So if we were to have gone by those results, the person who imminently was poised to be the next president of Kenya was Kalonzo. Hey.
Never happened.
So it's just that it didn't happen. It miserably didn't happen.
Because the election didn't happen on that day, things change.
Yes, it didn't happen on that day. One of the things that we do is the polls actually tell you the results that they have over which period of time. They even tell you the sample size, the people they talk to, etc., 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 etc. So essentially, you're being given history. We did this at this point in time, and this is what we found.
Yeah.
Now, the way we consume it is, the future is being foretold. It isn't. No. At that time, they took the poll. Those were the results. At that time.
And
it's in the past. So the present is very rarely taken into consideration. I think it's left to you to figure out, okay, if this was the past, what is the future?
But this was 3 weeks ago.
Yes, but this is Kenyan politics.
A lot changes.
A lot can change in a day.
Yes. This story of the DP's residence in Mombasa, it was quite
bizarre.
Yeah. Right? So first of all, you kick out a PC and a regional commissioner from a home. And you say, now we've designated this home to be the deputy president's official residence when he's conducting official government business in this area. Because, you can think about it anyway. If he's in the coast, where does he stay? Why should the DP be paying for a hotel? Anyway, so he spent over 100 million shillings to refurbish a home. Somebody has just walked out, as in 100 million shillings plus. And then You're told that the DP went to Mombasa, and at the end of the day, the staff had gone and taken their clothes and other belongings to the home, and they were told to pack up and leave. So what's the inside story? That's what I was just asking myself. What's the inside story? What is it?
There's definitely something more.
Designation of the house, done. Spending of money to refurbish, done. Is the house ready or is it not? That's basically the question.
The house may very well be ready, but something has happened, which is actually uniquely only Kenyan. If you look carefully and you take into consideration what happened to Moses Kuria, the tear gassing, the communication that is coming from a certain team in Jubilee, now what is happening right now to the deputy president, that's what happened to the then prime minister during the Kibaki era. You'd find he goes for a function.
He doesn't go home.
No sumkeka.
No sumkeka or no mkeka.
No government officials.
Nobody's expecting you. Frustration even at the airport, for heaven's sake. So essentially, why I'm saying it's uniquely Kenyan, we have a situation where Kenyans, the Kenyans in politics and in high places have decided that this thing about having the opposition being somewhere outside government, first of all, let's forget that particular notion. Let's have the opposition in government, shall we?
Yep.
And let's call this thing a handshake. And while we're at it, there are these people who seem to have ideas which are contrary to the president. Well, they have officially taken over the role of the opposition, and you can see the government is treating them as such. Our government tends to, there's this war of attrition they tend to have with the opposition. You're denied this, you're denied the other, you're given the impression this is happening and that it doesn't happen. If you read that script, this is what
exactly
used to
what's
happen
happening
to the opposition. Now it's happening to this faction. So they are the official opposition, if you ask me. Yes. And even their utterances, if you listen to what they're saying, those are things the opposition used to say.
Yes, absolutely.
So Kenya has another first. We have an official opposition right within the government, and we have an official opposition that has brought into government. Now, is this not interesting?
It's
quite
very
interesting.
I think what was it that he said? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times in 1984. It's looking at now when we see things that we never thought would actually happening. And again, all of this in the last how many months? Still a long ways to 2022, but I think we're in for action.
We will discuss that in detail. The issue of the BBI, the treatment or mistreatment of the DP and his band of
merry men.
Supporters.
Merry men. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, that one. And all that.
Okay. All right. We spoke about this in brief, extensively last week. But according to KOTU, there's a demand from them to suspend new NHIF rules. The Central Organization of Trade Unions wants new changes announced by the National Hospital Insurance Fund suspended, and a meeting of all stakeholders convened to discuss the way forward. Of course, alluding to the fact that this stakeholder discussion never took place before these new rules and regulations were put in place. The union yesterday expressed concern over the changes that are likely to lock out over 10 million workers from the health cover scheme and discourage people from joining. Benson Okwara, who's the Deputy Secretary General of KOTU, termed the changes punitive, retrogressive and irresponsible, claiming that they are being pushed by individuals hell-bent on hampering the smooth running of NHIF.
You know, the one thing that's quite interesting is that usually the Board of Trustees of NHIF would include representatives from employers and representatives from workers.
When they will come up with something new, right?
And the workers, yes. The board, that means the board has somebody who's been seconded from KOTU. So when KOTU calls a press conference and says, oh, this is what's happening and it's wrong, I think they should just be asking their representative in the board. Because what exactly are they telling us? That the person who's representing us in the board is not doing his work?
Not doing his job, essentially.
Yeah, these are some of the things that I'm like, come on. You know, so it has a faith-based healthcare organizations represented. Of course, there's a CEO. We have Kenya National Union of Teachers, Wycliffe Omchei is Kenya National Union of Teachers, is a representative there. We have KOTU, Honorable Robert Doba, he's representing KOTU. Joseph Mwaura, representing the PS Treasury. Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender is represented. Ministry of Health is represented. And the Federation of Kenya Employers is represented. And as well as the Kenya Medical Association. So these people are represented in the board of KOTU. When in the board of NHIF. When Kotu comes and tells us, they should first of all be asking their person, what exactly is it that you've done there in that board? This is one of those things that we see people just making noise instead of doing their job. So President Uhuru has been, in Mombasa since early December, and he's still there. Remember, he received the president of the Gambia in Mombasa. Now he apparently held a meeting with the senior state officials at the coast over insecurity. He met with the DPP, Nurdin Haji, DCI, George Kenoti, Interior CS, Fred Matiang'i. The president also organized another meeting with top security commanders. The commanders have been summoned to Mombasa for a meeting over incidents of insecurity. It's scheduled for Wednesday. Yeah, so he's busy.
He's the busy man.
It's what you used to call the working holiday.
Busy working holiday.
Busy working holiday.
Yes. So
but why is it that we would assume that because the president is at the coast, that's some sort of a holiday?
Because it is a holiday.
No. He's just there. It's official,
How long has he been there?
Since early December.
Okay, which other part of the country do you see him staying for that length of time?
Maybe that's what he wants to do in 2020. From Mombasa, he'll go to Sagana, or he'll stay in Nakuru.
The next question. Just answer the question I asked. Which other part of the country do you see him hanging out in?
Nairobi.
But this is where the seat of power is, isn't it? This is where he actually should be. This is where Jogo House is. This is where everything is.
He works from State House. Right?
So he's working from State House.
Yes, he's working
Why
from
doesn't
State
he work
House.
from State Lodge in Sagana?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe we'll see him moving there. We saw former President Moi going to Nakuru a lot.
No, we saw the first
from
president
Nakuru.
operating from Nakuru.
In fact, the first president
Operated from two places more than any other place. Nakuru, Mombasa. Rarely in Nairobi.
Nairobi, hardly, yeah?
Hardly.
So, yeah, we'll see this man. Maybe retracing the steps.
There you stretched it.
Wait and see.
Let's see what will happen with that. All right, so secondary schools open today. Overcrowding woes as schools reopen. Magoha says the government is building classrooms, laboratories to enhance the secondary school students' experience. As Form 1 students start reporting to school today, the Ministry of Education is keen to address overcrowding in dormitories and classrooms in secondary schools due to inadequate infrastructure. Secondary schools are facing infrastructure challenges even as the government enters its third year of implementing the 100% transition from primary to secondary school. So we're going to have a problem today where there's not going to be enough for everybody who enters into these institutions. This year, the ministry has reviewed the allocation per student for maintenance and infrastructure from 5,000 to 7,000 shillings. Cabinet Secretary says the government is progressively improving infrastructure in schools to accommodate all students. So it's a work in progress. However, there are going to be some challenges today. But we also take note that money that was supposed to be allocated for students to reopen school today has still not come from Treasury. That has not happened. There's going to be a problem. There were promises that it would be done last week, and it still has not been done. And according to PS Bello Kipsang, it's mum right now in terms of when this money will be released.
Hey? So we don't have money to pay dons in universities. We don't have money to actually roll out the free primary education, as well as free secondary as well, right?
Yes.
But it's just the first week. It's early days.
This thing you keep calling free, I keep telling you it's not free.
It's not free. Now, interesting you say that because...
Why don't you just call it support? It's not free.
It's not free because you know why? The secondary schools are
if
actually
tuition is free.
They're not complaining because they've received fees from those who board. So they actually bank... No, seriously.
Yes.
They've received those fees. So that's what they're banking on. So if it was actually free, there would be no fees that they're receiving from certain parents. It isn't free.
Why on earth would you even be talking about fees increases if there was no fees?
Exactly.
There's always a discussion about
free.
fee increases.
And now, because the Treasury has not released
Eric,
this money...
rethink the justification.
No.
You're going to be chasing your tail very soon.
What you're saying is true, that it's not 100% free. However, it's free tuition.
So what? And the fees is for what exactly?
The fees is for the other things, like you're talking about boarding. So boarding is not tuition, is it? No, it's not. Fee is broken down into tuition fee, and then there is the development fee, there is boarding fee, that includes food, there is transport. We want to buy a bus this year, all those things. That item called tuition, free, zero. you pay nothing.
So what is the tuition fee then that parents are being told has been hiked and they're going to pay for? We're not talking about private schools because everybody pays fees. We know. We're talking about government schools.
It's fees. The fees is the rest of the items. It's not the tuition bit.
Okay.
The tuition aspect is free.
It's free, yeah? Okay.
100% free.
What then is free when what is considered to be tuition, you're told it is free, and then everything else costs more than if you had paid for the tuition? So what exactly... The concept of free here is what I am arguing against, Eric.
The concept
it should not be referred to as free.
The concept of free to you is you pay nothing.
Eric, it's phrased as free education.
But Eric, honestly, unfortunately, what happens
if you go to public primary schools, you'll find that many of them are actually not paying a shilling.
Eric, they should stop calling it free education. It is not free education. It is supported education.
Subsidized
education. It is not free.
And unfortunately, what happens with all these other things that you actually do have to pay for, every year they increase. The fees, as it were, increase. So it just looks like a makeup for that which is being called free.
That's why in the budget, it's not the same amount. For every year, the money that is actually set aside in the budget for education is not the same amount. The capitation per child rises as well. This is what happens because there's money that is sent from the national government to the schools per child. Capitation, it also rises. So let's not call it free, let's call it subsidized, but we are talking about the same thing. Free
Semantics.
To some extent. There's somebody who's running the Nairobi city government, county government.
Who that?
The man is called Lebo Morintat. Lebo Morintat is the acting Nairobi County Secretary, and he has taken over operations at the City Hall following the prosecution of the governor, Mike Sonko. Lebo last week chaired the first cabinet meeting comprising of all executives and chief officers, with the main agenda focusing on measures to be implemented to ensure the county achieves its 14 billion revenue target by June this year. Speaking to the Standard, Lebo said he had stepped in to ensure that there were no hitches in service delivery. That's the job of the county secretary, though. He's just doing what he's supposed to be doing. However, does he have a executive authority to do some things?
That is the question.
Can he sign the budget? Can he not? He cannot.
He can't.
There you go.
Eric, this confusion is actually being created, if you ask me. And there is, in my opinion, this confusion between what to do with Mike Sonko and what to do with the governor of Nairobi.
Separately.
These are two separate issues because a lot of the dust that's being raised is not against the governor of Nairobi, it's against Mike Sonko. The position of the governor then comes in and the confusion comes in because they don't know what to do with Mike Sonko. Now, the only person who seems to be clear in this confusion happens to be the DPP. He says, this is what I think the situation is, and I'm going to court over it. Everything else, in my opinion, amounts to actual noise because as far as interpretations go, we are still at sea. The governor's lawyers tell you, he's still governor, which means this. The DPP says, when you're told to step down from office, it doesn't mean leave the structural building that you work from. And this government didn't work from that building very much anyway to begin with. No. The office here is everything that pertains to your position as a governor. You cannot function. That function cannot be carried. The functions of that office cannot be carried out by you. Now, the courts are the only ones who can clear this for us, and that is the truth of the matter. The government can't, because this is not a situation where the government can sort of like intervene and decide so and so is going to appoint, because it's an elected post.
Exactly.
Yes, it's like saying this MP. MPs don't step down. They can be arrested, they can be jailed, and there are rules. If you're arrested and if you're incarcerated for a certain period of time...
I totally disagree with this notion. This is what politicians keep telling us. Because I've been elected, I cannot... Who said you cannot step down?
Actually, where have you seen a politician stepping down?
You should be able to basically say...
Just tell me.
It doesn't matter whether you've seen.
Does the law...
The principle I am saying is that you should be able to go to the people and say, you guys, I have been taken to court and therefore
why don't you?
Sure, if you reside in Utopia, but that's not going to happen in Kenya, unfortunately.
And that's what I'm saying is wrong.
Nobody's going to come
Even in the West, people step down from positions, ministerial positions.
Absolutely.
How often do they step down as members of parliament? Tell me. Just give me an example.
They do resign. They do resign
Take
as
time,
MPs.
Give us an example before the end of the program and tell us where it is MPs have actually done exactly what you're saying.
MPs resign.
Okay.
It's not new. I mean, you'll find it.
Okay. No, it's not me who wants to find it.
That MPs, you're the one who's asking.
I've taken the position that MPs in this country don't resign and they will never resign.
MPs in this country, and that's wrong. The principle
Wrong
should
according
be,
to whom?
according to me.
They
I'm the one who's
should
saying
resign.
it.
They will
It's
tell you
wrong.
they will go back to the electorate.
They will tell you that it's the people who put them there, and
Who
when the
can
people tell them that they should come out is when they will. But they step down on their own.
They can
It's
go
not gonna
and tell
happen.
the people, you know what, I think...
They can go and tell the
They
people.
can.
Yes, I want to step aside. I want to step down. And if you want to re-elect me, re-elect me.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what should happen.
It
This
sounds
thing of
really
telling
nice
us, you
and
know,
flowery.
because I'm in elected position, you know, I'm representing the people. I cannot step aside because the people go and huko.
It
So
sounds
you go
great,
and steal
but
and
once you put it against
And
the,
and
You-
the-
you
and-
go
and-
and
mirror of
and-
steal
reality,
everything.
it's not
so
gonna
the
happen.
government,
No.
the government, of course, should, as if I'm to follow your argument, should have solved the problems that we're discussing here as problems, issues about the money for the lecturers, the workers at the university, the issue of money for schools. These are things the government should have done, but they haven't. That's the truth. They haven't.
Yep,
They may solve it.
yep,
They will solve it. They haven't.
yep. Does it make it right?
No,
It doesn't.
You see, my
The
friend,
premise of my argument is
this isn't a right or
simply
wrong
because,
situation.
No, the
It
premise
is
of
what
my
is.
argument is simply because politicians tell us this. It doesn't make it right. It does not. We saw the president of South Korea stepping down and then facing charges because of pressure. We've seen presidents stepping down because of pressure.
as president.
Yes, as president. That's an elected position, highest elected position of the land. People step aside. You step down because clearly you have lost the confidence. People have lost confidence in you.
of course, it brings in question whether that will actually happen ever in Kenya.
It should.
It should. All right. Aerial spraying of locusts rolled out in Isiolo and Meru counties. So the aerial spraying, which was hoped to have taken place, has actually begun. And so this started in Kipsing and Kachiro. Yesterday. The spraying was to begin on Saturday morning, but was delayed since the 940 litres of pesticides delivered earlier by the government was for hand pumps. And they didn't get the right one for the aerial spraying, so they had to change this. They had to reorder chemicals that were delivered later in the evening. Isiolo County Agriculture and Livestock Chief Officer Salah Jilo said 2 planes, one provided by the government and another from Farmland Aviation, did not spray Malkalgala since locals provided erroneous information during the mapping of the area. So, I mean, it's back and forth. Locals provided wrong information. They had the wrong chemicals, but finally they began spraying. And yeah, for real. So it is quite a mess. But this has started as of yesterday. In terms of when that is supposed to be completed, we don't know. But the swarms have so far invaded Wajir, Marsabit, Isiolo, and Meru counties.
They're moving.
They're moving. Oh, yes, they are. And it has been said again that this is going to go through to the rest of the country. Among the measures so far proposed to destroy the swarms is aerial spraying and eating the insects. Nutritionists say locusts are a rich source of protein. Aerial spraying has already begun in some counties. And the University of Nairobi Don said locusts are fast breeders and asked the government to focus its efforts on ensuring the population of the destructive insects does not increase.
You know, luckily it's locusts,
Why is it luckily?
not fire. Because you see the way the kind of response that we are getting. If this was kind of the
The situation we have in
situation in
had a
Australia,
really- yeah,
where
before the
it's
rains.
fire, fire destroys property, fire kills people and livestock. If this is what was happening, we'd be talking about very many people who are dead so far. As the government, tries to figure out what
find a
information,
helicopter.
find a helicopter. What are the locals saying? The locals give us the wrong information. We sent the wrong.
Ask the residents who saying to the locusts.
Yeah.
Yes.
God knows. Honestly, here, if we're going to inject the knowledge of a superior power, God knows why he allows certain things happen in certain places. And we need to thank
And
the
by
protection
way,
of the Almighty,
just in
because
case you thought it was safe to get out of the water, the rains have not subsided yet.
No, they
Imagine.
haven't. With the pounding that we saw over it last night.
Actually, it's like it's engaged the higher gear.
Right.
This
And according
morning.
to the Met, according to Met, we're likely to see heavy rains like this for the next couple of weeks. What they thought would end in December is now looking projected towards the end
Eric
of
and I
January.
could have told them this the other week.
That it was gonna rain.
It was going to continue raining. Yes.
Yep. This is what we're seeing.
It's It's unfortunate that we see this. So these things came. We were told they were coming. They came. We saw the kind of reaction. So they've already left devastation in those 3 counties, Wajir, Mandera, Garissa. Now they've moved to Isiolo. They've moved to Meru. They are moving to Laikipia. Shortly, by the end of this week, they'll be in Laikipia. How far? So
what is of interest that you must understand is that when the areas they're already moving into, those are areas that have large plantations of wheat. Yes, have large plantations of maize. So forget these bushes, these shrubs they've been eating. When they land on some of these things,
highly nutritious.
They'll have some serious eating.
They'll have good food.
They'll have some very, very serious eating. So the cake variety for locusts, bread variety for locusts, ugali variety for locusts.
All of this.
All of it, yes. We are fortunate they don't eat animals.
Yeah. We're really fortunate. They don't eat animals and they don't eat humans. Would be gone. It's 28 minutes to 7 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a look at what's happening on the wet roads.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, we're focusing our attention in Kasarani this morning, where vehicles are not getting in and out at no cost whatsoever. From 4 a.m. this morning, of course, there are fires on the road because of the protests that are taking place concerning the Mwiki Kasarani Road. Neighborhood youth, neighborhood everybody really have decided that they are not allowing any vehicles in and out until the government does something about the poor state of that road. So it's going to affect traffic on Thika Road, whichever way we choose to look at it today. So please be cautious. If you are finding a way to approach that area, be extremely cautious because it is quite the messy situation. Looking at different parts of the city today, the first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that all the roads are wet and slippery, so you need to be cautious as you get on, remembering that quite more in terms of population going to be on the roads this morning as more students get back to school. South Sea, interestingly enough, the Kenya water is flooded, so you want to avoid that if you can because it's causing some problems there. Finally, there's an accident involving 4 vehicles, a canter, a taxi, a matatu on the Thika Superhighway as well around the Garden City area. We'll let you know what's happening in different parts of the city, but for now, just be careful. We'll give you more details in a short while. 0719012600. Call us if you see something that we need to know about.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
It's 26 minutes to 7 o'clock. Good morning and how are you doing? Thank you very much for choosing Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room. In the room, my name is Eric Latif. We have CT Muga and Nduoko. We're taking a look at what's been covered in the headlines, what happened over the weekend and what's expected in the news this week. So, what do you have in the nation again?
Well, may God save the Queen, but can she save the royal family? Today is the day where these...
Can she save the prince?
Right. Today is the day when these talks are supposed to take place, later on today being Monday. She will host a showdown meeting, the Queen now, Elizabeth II.
Showdown meeting?
Yes, with Prince Harry on which is today, in attempt to solve the crisis triggered by his bombshell announcement that he and his wife Meghan are stepping back from the royal frontline. So other senior royals, including Harry's father and Prince Charles and brother Prince William, with whom he has strained relations, will join the monarch at her private Sandringham home in eastern England, according to British media. Meghan will join the meeting via conference call from Canada, interestingly enough, as they attempt to work out the next steps towards a compromise and nip the growing crisis in the bud. Interestingly, on the agenda, up for debate, issues for debate include how much money the couple will receive from Charles's estate, their HRH titles, and what commercial deals they can strike, according to the Sunday Times. Harry, Meghan, and son Archie spent Christmas in Canada, with the American former actress returning there this week. So she's not in the
You know,
UK.
I think we should hear from the other side. I think there must be some story. There must be something that has actually made Meghan, for example, feel I'm not welcome here. I'm feeling like
not necessarily.
I haven't been.
Not necessarily. The life of the royal family is like living in a certain intergalactic reality that most commoners have no knowledge of. She is a commoner. She's a regular Mwananchi. Her being actress notwithstanding.
She's Wanjiko.
Yes, so when you get into that setup, and then is it Canadian or American?
She's Canadian.
So when you get into that setup, there is a lot that will be completely and totally strange to you.
Right.
Okay? The way she lived, that particular life is controlled. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do.
This is what you
The
can
things
wear. This is
do.
what you cannot
and
wear.
You, because of this position, the Sussex title, your functions are this. Not you wife, this.
To the point where you're told, don't even think in this way. This is which
is okay. I mean, human beings.
How is it okay? Because she's rebelling against it.
Human beings are able to, if she's taken through that orientation properly.
She's taken.
The problem is, I'm thinking the way she was taken through that orientation. If she's taken through that orientation from a mindset of, you don't belong here. So,
Eric,
usually
royals marry other royals from other countries.
You don't think like that.
And they tend to understand how they function. Remember, in this very same show we mentioned, there's a lady by the name of Wallace Simpson, okay, who wanted to get married to a royal. Now, this particular royal was supposed to be the King of England. Because he chose to marry Wallace, this was a 3-time divorcee, the royal family and whatever statutes that uphold them said, no, this is not going to be. The gentleman abdicated.
Yes.
Okay? He left. He said, thank you. His brother took over. His brother's daughter, Queen Elizabeth, is now the queen. All right? The point is this. Those rules haven't changed. Not so much as one may want to. They have modernized. They may have allowed certain things, but not that much. Now, someone who's used to living in a certain way, coming into the role, forget being taken through the motions. It can be sheer torture because it's something that nothing has ever prepared you for. When I say nothing, I mean absolutely nothing. You can read about it, you may think so, but nothing will have prepared you for it. Your life it's regimented, Chief.
It's okay, but then the people who are welcoming her understand where she's coming from.
You're thinking like a Kenyan, and you're thinking the way Kenyans would do this thing.
They also know that this is a commoner. So this is what we're going to do. We need to actually orient her and take her through the motions and for her to understand. And then she'll take time to get into it. I think the treatment, the kind of attitude that somebody gives you, makes you feel that I want.
And what is this attitude that this?
Because by the time she was dating this man, and it became serious that they are dating, she already started feeling what this life is all about.
Yes,
that bubble of it. All right, and then she got married, and she got into the full bubble of it. That full bubble of it, she's gotten. How many years is it? We're talking about 2 or 3 years.
Yes, 2, 3. But I think one thing that we're not focusing on that's very important. I mean, like you're saying, Eric, is the fact that she is mixed race, and people don't want to talk about it like that, but it has come out to the fore.
She's black,
glaringly so. And interestingly enough, what it says here, just a mix of now, their desire to live as both members of the monarchy and private individuals making a living was described as a toxic mix by David McClure, an investigator with Royal Finances. The history of senior royals making money. The two is a toxic mix. It hasn't worked well in the past. How can you be half in, half out? Half the week performing public duties and the other half earn your own income with TV, lectures and books. It is fraught with dangers. The younger prince, who has struggled with his role, last year revealed he has been growing apart from his brother, who, as second in line to the throne, is increasingly pursuing a different path. Harry has been open about his mental health issues, and he and Meghan last year admitted to struggling with the spotlight following their wedding at Windsor Castle in May 2018 and Archie's birth a year later. The couple have lashed out at negative news coverage, some of which Harry says was absolutely racist in light of Meghan's biracial heritage.
There you go.
Many issues that they've been dealing with from the very beginning, like you said, even before they even announced their engagement already. How are you letting a black woman into the castle?
Yeah, this is going to be the first black person.
No, she's not the first.
No, in a long time.
She's not the first.
So in a long time?
Okay, that's fine.
So I mean, I think there are very, very many issues that they're struggling with, and I think rather than for them to continue to deal with it and take it all with a pinch of salt, they said, "Look, we need to get out."
And if they're talking about even making their own money, it means that they are also being denied some money.
No, I
No,
think they
not
don't, because
necessarily.
the thing is, again, with the money that you're giving
It
up, like
ties you
CT
in.
was saying, it ties you in, and there are conditions that come along with it. So here you have all this money, because you can see on one of the topics for debate this morning is how much of Charles' estate will they be given. So they basically want a plan, and they say, look, if you're going to give us your money, because look, they're not for want of cash under the royal family. But now, if you're going to take a step back, that means that yes, you say we don't want this control that comes along with it, then of course some of the finances will be docked. So again, they want to know how much then do they need to make. She made a pretty penny as an actress, so look, maybe she wants to go back to doing that.
What if the Queen just says no?
Then she's
Then she'll have said
then
no.
she would have said no.
And that's it.
You're
You
not
know?
going
So
anywhere.
this whole discussion of how much you get,
But
the
she's
Queen
not
just
going to
says,
say no.
She's not going to say no. They're going to come to an amicable.
She's not going to say no.
No.
shouldn't she?
No, I wouldn't know really, because as I said, talking about royalty and in the UK, as I said, you are asking me to talk about some interplanetary issue that I'm actually not very well versed in. And secondly, I'd ask, how on earth does it concern me? If Prince Harry wants to flip burgers, how on earth is that an issue that even I actually should be discussing? at a
That's his
great level?
shawri.
You would be asking if you were the Queen. That's what you would be asking.
No, I'm asking as
CT
a
Muga.
CT Muga and a Kenyan. It's interesting news that the royal household is going through some modern 21st century changes. That and it ends there. Beyond that, if
cares?
he decides he wants to hike in the Andes, good for him. If he and his wife decide that perhaps Canada isn't the right thing and Timbuktu is the right place, good for them. If the Queen doesn't agree, okay. If she agrees, okay.
Okay.
If the father agrees, okay. If he doesn't agree, again, okay.
Okay.
Yes. Is it going to stop the flood waters we have in Kenya? No. Is it going to ensure that the university staff get paid? No. Is it going to ensure that the locusts go away? No. So,
Well, let's talk about something that just might. The Global Fund is going to give Kenya 42 billion shillings. The country has the joint third largest HIV epidemic in the world alongside Tanzania. The Global Fund, the agency...
Third largest in the world.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. City Muga, what have you guys been doing for the last 20, whatever years?
Wait. Let me
No,
finish
no.
giving the information.
why don't
then
you let
Siti
her
can
read
come
the
in.
thing to the very end
Then Siti can
and
come
then
in.
ask me these questions that are now relevant to the things that I think, yes.
Right, the Global Fund, the agency that helps Kenya fight HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria, has given the country 42 billion shillings to be used up to 2024. So that's what, 3 years? 4 years. The organization's suggestion to Kenya on how to improve the programs are supported.
2024 is not 4 years.
It's 4 years from now, isn't it? And we're in 2020.
2020.
If you get it
20.
this year,
Yeah.
count the year you get it in, then count the next, and then count the next like that. So it's 5.
20, 21,
22,
22,
23,
24.
5.
5.
Okay, 5 years. Global Fund wants Kenya to step up activities by preventing HIV, TB, and malaria, strengthen health and community systems, and ensure extra efforts are put in place to take care of vulnerable people. It also wants Kenya to tackle gender inequalities and barriers to healthcare. In an 8-page letter to Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache, Global Fund Grand Management Division Head Mark Eddington said the money should be available from June 2021. So it's 4 years.
From 2021. Okay.
Right?
So this comes to about 10 B a year.
Yes, essentially. Mr. Eldon Eddington said apart from the 42 billion shillings, Kenya qualifies for extra money to set up schemes that address the vulnerability of teenagers and young women to HIV, AIDS, and tuberculosis. Many Kenyan HIV researchers agree with the fund's recommendations. Are you among the many, CT?
Who do what exactly?
Agree with the
the fund's
recommendations.
recommendations.
It doesn't really matter whether I agree or not agree. You see, funding by its very nature comes with its own conditions. And that's why they give it to you. And usually you apply and you say, we need A, B, C, D. And they tell you, okay, now we're giving you this money for, and they state what they're giving it to you for. Yes. Once they state it, they will then determine your usage of it based on what it is they gave it for. So it's not really a very complicated situation. Yes.
How much have you been receiving in the previous years?
It's been
So this is coming to about 10 billion a year.
It's been less than this. The government has actually received less than this in the past. This is the most the government has actually ever received. But this is government to government, or a donor agency to government. Then there is funding, the PEPFAR funding. Now that is, it comes through the PEPFAR, goes to CDC, and it's given to agencies that work in counties specifically with the county health government to ensure that this fight against HIV is one. That's a different fund.
So there's extra money that's coming through PEPFAR. The PEPFAR chain is going straight to the NGOs and CBOs.
Yes. Directly.
So this money, what does this, the one that goes to the Ministry of Health, do?
Well, part of it will go to NASCOP. And part of it will go to other government. Government has an agency.
And NACC.
Yes, and other agencies that actually fight this scourge of HIV. And usually at the forefront of this is actually NASCOP. They are the ones who actually take the operational aspects of this particular work to ensure that this, whatever requires doing, that they supervise it and that they understand that the standards that are required are maintained. They are the prefect. They are the ones who actually ensure that.
So NASCOP gets more than its control council?
AIDS Control Council doesn't actually go about managing HIV and AIDS as you know it. It's a council. It's an overseer, large body. They also act as funders. They also receive money that they can give people who actually action and put these things into practice. But you're talking about the government arm that actually ensures things get done. It's NASCOP.
Okay, so now back to that question. We are the third highest in the world.
Yes.
Now we are. With this funding, we are.
No. Not highest recipients.
No.
It's the third highest.
The country has the joint third largest HIV epidemic in the world alongside Tanzania. So Tanzania and Kenya together have the largest HIV epidemic.
In the
world.
funding?
Oh, I don't know about the funding. Just giving...
it is also one of the largest that has actually been
receiving funding from around the world.
From around the world.
It is. It's a lot of money. 10 billion shillings a year is a lot of money.
It's a lot of cash.
It is a lot of money.
So I think your eyebrows are raised in terms of how Kenya is
Yeah,
still
so we're
affected
still
by
at that
HIV.
point.
We're still at that point whereby
20 years ago, we had an epidemic, and it was declared an epidemic, and a lot of money has gone into it, into fighting this scourge. So why are we still the third largest country in the world? Why is it that? Is it that our efforts are not bearing fruit?
What I'm not sure about that reporting is that the HIV prevalence, meaning the number of people who are HIV positive in this country, South Africa has, the southern part of Africa, specifically South Africa, has led.
Okay, South Africa is number one, actually.
Yes.
South Africa is number one.
So one of the things that happens with, or has happened with the management or the treatment of people who are HIV positive is this. Two things. One, you will find that there are people who develop resistance to what is actually being given. Okay. Now, this causes a completely new problem. And then there is the issue of people who are now well, who do not bother to actually continue with their medication. They default.
Right.
Because as far as they're concerned, they're well. Yes. Now, and then because they look well, there is now a secondary element of infection that takes place because HIV and AIDS was associated with emaciated people who seem like they're just about to conk.
Right.
Okay. And then when people look well, then the issue of the disease recedes. So essentially, it's like the treatment has become its own worst enemy because people are now exposed to perhaps infections in ways that previously they were not.
Right. So then, just looking from a human psyche, that you're as an individual would then likely to have sex with somebody who looks healthy.
Not only that, people will not declare, neither will they tell you that
they
they're
declare
HIV
their
positive.
status.
They won't declare their status.
So the issue of behavior change has not really been successful. Because the behavior change aspect is where you're saying that people should always either use protection or know the status of your partner.
But in this case,
So
the
you
behavior
have
change...
There's a third element. There's
testing.
a third issue here that I need to bring in. Remember when the fight started, it was vigorous and no stone was left unturned. But over time, remember, there's an entire new generation that has come into being for whom all these messages that were previously bombarded with, that people were previously bombarded with, that hasn't happened. So
the messaging reduced.
Or it reduced and it also changed. So just because of the population surge and the increase in population, again, you then have a whole new demographic of individuals who have heard, know about it, but that vigorous campaign that
Not
was
to the same
previously
intensity.
there, no, it isn't quite
Why did
there.
you reduce the intensity of that communication? Maybe it's because it was sending panic among the population.
It changed.
It had some negative
changed.
connotation to it.
It had negative connotations, and it brought about despondency. So a lot was changed in the messaging, and it did work. But again, there is the psyche of the human being. Once people understood that with ARVs you are going to continue living and death wasn't a threat, then there, in some senses, the behavior change advances that had been achieved or the progression started getting reversed because that the threat of death went. It gone because it's not that you live for 10 years, you'll just keep living. And that is actually the genuine message.
Yeah.
If you wanted to have children, you would go through a process and have children who are not HIV. Yes,
HIV
and
negative,
the
yes.
chances of them being positive were reduced significantly. So
And even those that are born with HIV can actually live productive lives.
they will live extremely productive lives
With the
for an
virus.
extremely long time. So the threat, it became just another disease. And when it became just another disease,
It's like sukari.
yes, the behavior that you wanted people
You know
to
that disease
adopt,
called sukari?
I know
Yes.
the one.
yes.
Mimi niko na sukari.
Uko na
And
sukari.
that's it.
Kwa hivyo mimi sikunywi sukari.
Yes,
kwa sababu
kunywa sukari.
Uko na
Niko na
sukari iko
sukari.
mingi kwa mwili.
Yes.
Yes.
Just one of those.
Now, if I'm glad you brought it in because that actually explains it. We discussed in this very same show why it is that things like antibiotics have a problem, or people who take antibiotics have problems simply because one, they become they develop resistance. Our concept of being ill is I must feel ill and I must look ill.
Right.
If I don't feel unwell and I don't look unwell,
Then
then
I'm
I am
healthy.
well.
I'm okay. Yeah.
So this thing of taking this antibiotic for 7 days, forget. On the third day, I'm better, I stop.
Forget it. Yeah.
You develop resistance. The same with ARVs. So what you then need to do is you introduce another level of treatment. Now that level of treatment, if someone goes through all that, then you know your life will actually be in danger because one will have difficulties figuring out what exactly to give you. Because your body has actually developed resistance to what may be available.
Yeah.
Yes. And what may now be available may not necessarily be free.
Dynamics change.
Everything changes. Everything changes. Ask yourself a very simple question. Why do you think, it's not discussed, why do you think we keep having problems with malaria? Same reason. You're told, take these drugs for X number of days. People don't.
4, 2, 2, 2, 2.
Yeah, you go to 2, by the fourth 2, you're figuring I'm okay.
Come on, I'm fine.
Yes.
I can walk.
Right.
I've stopped sweating.
And the fever is gone, and I can eat. You're actually not well. What you're supposed to have achieved hasn't been achieved. So all you're doing is understand this problem from the perspective of HIV and AIDS, and you will find that the truth of the matter is simply that the problem is still with us. And people do not see the need. The issue of condoms, for instance, people will take condoms, they may use it once or twice, and then they'll calmly tell you that they have figured out that their partner is positive
Yeah,
or
or negative.
So you figure, have you tested? No. But how? Well, just looking at them.
Oh, fantastic.
No, we trust each other.
Even
so-
worse.
I mean, we are now steady.
So now, what do you tell this person?
Nothing.
So when you ask me the question, what have we done? The fight was won well. But again, with victory comes new issues.
We've won battles.
Yeah, but these new issues are the ones which are now being addressed.
It's a good thing, though, that we have received this kind of money. In this period of our time, getting
A lot of this money,
getting 40B is
it's
a good thing.
It's a lot of money, but believe me, it is PEPFAR that directly went into the treatment of people who are HIV positive directly.
Right, because when you looked at, reducing deaths from 64,000 a year, PEPFAR was directly involved to getting that number down to what we see as the 25,000 that is currently being dealt with now. Direct involvement by them. And now that they have essentially pulled out in terms of how much money they're giving through, I don't know that we're going to see the same results again.
Oh, that has reduced
So
significantly.
does this affect, what's that strategy? Is 20-20-20 or something like that?
No, you're talking about
90.
1990.
It is 90-90.
You tell us about the 20, but it's actually 90-90-90. And then we also went to 95, 95, 95. The strategy was working. There was a research that was conducted in Homa Bay and Migori counties. And what they were trying to do, it was called SEARCH, Sustainable East Africa Research on Community Health. What they were trying to do was to determine whether someone who tests positive, irrespective of what the viral load is, gets treatment immediately, if that would have an impact. That particular concept was proved, and WHO has adopted it. So it is now test and treat.
Immediately.
Yes. So forget you have this, just positive, start treatment. The likelihood of somebody living a healthier, more robust life is greater with that.
What was happening before? You test and then what?
No. If your viral load was below a certain number, yes, that's when we'd put you on medication. Prior to that, we'd give you multivitamins, we'd give you a broad-based antibiotic to cater for these opportunistic diseases. Yes, that's what we would do. But you're not put directly. And part of the reason is because the medication in itself had drawbacks. People would react to it, some very, very adversely. So you didn't want to be in a hurry to put someone on that drug. You want to stabilize them, so to speak.
Okay.
Let the energy levels, let the viral load reduce. Then you'd feel, okay, we are then able to do A, B, C, D for them. But we figured, no, you lose people this way.
So
they're already weak.
Test.
Yes, don't let them get
treatment.
weak. Immediately start treatment. But again, what has happened is, remember, PEPFAR was directly American funding. Huh?
Yes.
And remember, it was a presidential fund. The Trump administration has continued to cut that funding significantly. Yes. And rightfully, in a sense, because if they're saying, if you are dealing with an epidemic at some point, 20 years down the line, the epidemic shouldn't really be
an epidemic still.
Yes, it should have reduced somewhat. So there's that point of view, but that usually isn't the entire
But their
story.
own research is showing them differently. I mean, if your research is
By
showing...
the way,
if
Trump
your data,
isn't just reducing funding for PEPFAR. Even within his own country, National Institute of Health, another institution that used to get government funding, it's also reduced
cutting
there.
back.
Yeah, so if you cut back at the local level, it means that what they can actually give to other people, or the partners they have in other parts of the world, is also reduced.
It's also reduced.
Yes. So Trump was democratic about it. He reduced it everywhere.
Equitably.
Even at home.
Even at home.
Even at home. We'll be taking a look at what's happening in the news, of course, what's been covered in the headlines. We'll be discussing some of those issues in detail as we go along this program. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. In the room this morning, it's Eric Latif, CT Muga, and Nduoko. We're broadcasting from Nairobi on 94.4. We're in Mombasa, 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 in Nyeri, 97.7 in Malindi. Remember, we live stream this show every morning on Facebook, Spice FM KE. We're also live streaming on Twitter, Spice FM KE. We're also on our YouTube channel, Spice FM KE, and the website is www.spicefm.co.ke. That's www.spicefm.co.ke. Stick around with us, because between now and 10 o'clock we'll be discussing various issues. One, we'll be discussing the BBI, the arrest and the release of the Moses Kuria, the Gatundu South MP. We'll also be discussing the issues affecting Mombasa County. Is there a cabinet in Mombasa? Is there no cabinet in Mombasa? What's the issue there? How is that government running? We'll also be looking at, now that schools are opening, especially the secondary schools this week, and the primary schools opened last week. What's happening in there in terms of funding them? Are they getting sufficient funds? Is there money to tend to the schools, or is there no money? Is the government broke, or is the government just being careless with how it's dispersing its funds? Good morning. It's 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, Figure Road is slow but moving, understanding that nothing is coming in or going, coming in or leaving Mwiki. The Matatu operators have decided to shut down the road and say that nothing is going to come out until they do something about the poor state of that road. People are actually walking to work. It's a walk to work Monday for a lot of people coming out of that area. Everybody, really. It's very slow from Safari Park towards town on Thika Road this morning. Let's see how that happens. Of course, questions are coming up in terms of what is happening on the Eastern Bypass. As soon as we get some answers there, we will definitely let you know. Mombasa Road, moving all the way to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, is moving very slow. Of course, take into consideration that most roads will be in this situation because of the showers that we see in different parts of the city. Coming off from Gong Road is not so bad. We have an accident that has happened right outside the Mirage on Wayaki Way that is heavily affecting traffic that is inbound to the CBD. Hopefully that will be cleared off in a very short while. Let's take a look at what's happening on in Mombasa rather. On Moy Avenue today, the traffic is a bit slow. It's already building up right now. And we'll take a look at the major road in Kisumu, Obote Road today, all the way to the airport. Not so bad, but definitely building up round around 7 o'clock. In a short while, we'll let you know what's happening in other parts of the city.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's also Kenya's biggest conversation. We ask you to join the conversation via social media handles Spice FM KE, Facebook at Spice FM KE, Twitter. And also you can tag us individually at Eric Latif, that's Latif with a double F, at Ndu Oko with a H at the end, and at CT Muga with a H at the end, Muga. Right? Well, remember before the BBI report was launched and it was handed over to the president, I brought up a conversation here. Well, are you okay, City?
Well, yes. City Muga without the H is listening to you. Yes.
You know, there's some people who actually put Muga with a H, right?
Of course they are.
So this one is the one without.
Okay.
This particular Muga.
Yeah, and it's like the Eric without a K.
Eric without a K, continue. Yes.
Good. So I was saying, before the BBI report was handed over to the President and Prime Minister, I had brought up a conversation here and said the next steps for the BBI should have proper implementation and a way forward on how we shall actualize what's contained in this report, if indeed we need to make sure that what has been presented to the President comes to life. Among the things that I had proposed was, let's have some national dialogue on this report. Let's have a way in which all Kenyans interact with the report. They discuss the report, they tear it apart, they put it back together, they say this is the way we agree with this, or we'd like to amend some aspects of what has been proposed. And of course, I had recommended also that we have a sort of a committee of experts. And I'm happy that the President and the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, saw it wise to actually appoint a team of experts. They appointed 30-member task force or team of experts to go through this BBI report and see what needs to be broken down into pieces of legislation, come up with legislation, what needs to go into a referendum question, what needs to be taken back to the people for further discussion. And the team has not yet been started working, at least publicly. They haven't told us now this is how we begin to work and this is how we shall go about it. The Paul Mwangi team was also, their tenure was also extended. Now they have a new lease of life. They are still working. They are still in office. However, it was also very, very important that we make sure that we shield this. It's a political thing, it's a political process, but we shield it from a lot of partisan politics and ensure that we're discussing it from a point where we're saying, this is what we'd like to see our country look like. Like the BBI reports, 100 years from today, the generations that come shall remember what happened in 2019, 2020, in that people sat down and they thought this is the best thing for Kenya. Now, of course, we saw over the weekend one meeting taking place in the Nyanza region. The governors of those 6 counties brought together people. They took them to Gusii Stadium. We saw other politicians meeting at Gusii Stadium, and they discussed the BBI report over a couple of hours, and they came out with what they called the Kisii Declaration, which had its own recommendations. We've also seen the fallout about the planned meeting that's going to happen this weekend in Kakamega, where the Western leaders are supposed to be meeting to discuss the BBI report, and probably they'll come out with a Kakamega declaration. Okay. Now, my fear, and I support what the DP and his supporters are saying, I support what Musalia Mudavadi and what Moses Wetangula are saying, this process is now taking partisan political route. Instead of it being the one that is building bridges, it is starting to destroy the bridges. And I think it's wrong. We should be following the route that had been taken before. Let this process be led by the new committee of experts, not by politicians.
The new committee that hasn't been gazetted, you mean?
Yes.
So how are they exactly supposed to do this? And
They should get
gazetted?
They should get gazetted. They should start working. Then
there's a lot of should in your statements today.
Yes. Huh? Yes. A lot of it.
On the right side of the bed.
Yeah, I mean, this should happen. It isn't happening. It hasn't happened, but Eric is positive. It will happen. Should happen.
It should happen. You see, the whole idea of forming a 30-member committee of experts, right? It's led by lawyers and comprising of other people who have expertise in various fields, is so that they can look at the report that was presented by the BBI task force. The 14-member I call them the Wazes, right? Amos Wako, Yusuf Haji, and the Bishop Lawi Matthew, and the others. I call them the Wazes. They sat down, they went around the country, they collected the views from the people. They went to the coast, they retreated, they came up with a report. They edited that report, allegedly to suit some people. It's okay. They presented a report, and there was unanimous acclamation that this is a good report. Now, the committee of experts was set up so that they can look at it and see, now, how do we actualize this thing? What requires policy to be written? What requires laws to be written? What requires a referendum? Is there anything that requires to go to the people for a referendum? And remember my position has been, even those things that just require policy, let's just take everything to a referendum so people feel that they are involved in it. Now, people are meeting in Kisii, people are meeting in Kakamega. However, what's the composition of that? Who is it that is leading the meetings? When they're meeting and they're discussing, who's taking the notes? How will these notes end up with the committee of experts? Is it not just, making a lot of noise and saying we want a referendum? We want a referendum by June. Politics.
Let me ask a question.
Ask City.
What exactly is wrong with having that meeting in Kisii? Why is it raising so much dust? It was clearly a political meeting. So what? So?
You also had a question? I want to take all questions.
No, please take that. No, please go ahead with that one first.
Here's the thing. Okay? It's okay for people to meet and discuss, just like we always do here. We discuss the BBI, right? But when you see, especially the person who is at the helm of BBI, which is Raila Odinga, attending that meeting and even encouraging this kind of discussions, he's jumping the gun.
Which gun?
He knows very well that he's involved in the formation of this 30-member task force, committee of experts.
Yes,
he knows very well, right?
Yes, yes.
And he knows the kind of, TOR that they're giving this task, the committee of experts. The TORs will include, obviously, that you guys shall come back, shall sit down, shall create an implementation matrix, which is what I was saying was lacking the BBI report. Have an implementation plan. Say, this is how we'd like to go about it. Let's now have countrywide meetings, which is what I support, countrywide meetings, but let them be structured. Let them be organized.
This one wasn't structured.
This is not structured. This is
according to you.
According to me.
And what would a structured meeting look like?
It's not only me. It's not only me. Even
what would a structured meeting look like?
A structured meeting would be. So this is what we want to discuss. These are the repertoires for the meeting. The committee of experts will be present. They're the ones who've called this meeting. They're the ones who've said, let's have a regional meeting in Nyanza, where we shall discuss the BBI. And these are the issues that we want to discuss. When we came to Nyanza, remember what Ledama Olekina was telling us the other day? When we came to this region, this is what we heard. And now this is what the report says. Now, let's discuss it.
Did this meeting in Kisii involve the 30 elders
that
have been appointed?
Not
Precisely.
There.
So it wasn't meant for them. What you're discussing is what these 30 elders are supposed to do. This was a political meeting, a regional political meeting, and anybody who wanted to attend was allowed to attend.
No.
I thought I saw very many people who didn't come from that region at that meeting.
Yes, people who did not. Those were the politicians, Maina Kamanda and Anwaigoro and Hassan Joho, the politicians.
But Eric, I still don't understand the problem.
So it was
here.
a political meeting.
Yes, I'm asking.
Some of the proponents of the BBI
So
took their expression to Kisii.
yes,
And they spoke to people about how
people
they,
of that region. Yes,
of that region,
So
how they were looking for support for the BBI, essentially. Now, whether it was government-led, government orchestrated, in terms of what they were going to...
It was, because the governors were involved.
But this is the thing, that essentially there's nothing wrong with that they went in and had a meeting in a region of Kenya to talk about this one thing, be it political or not, that they wanted to garner support for. At the end of the day, there's really nothing wrong with that, garnering support for this initiative that the government is still involved in.
If you look at the reasons why we have the BBI in the first place, right? It is so that we can quell political tensions in this country. It's so that in future, people do not look at politics and think that people are aligning themselves for politics.
People always align themselves.
It is to build bridges so that even if people are aligning themselves, it does not come out as, with negativity.
But you have politicians who are
I want
aligning
Derek to
themselves
explain
with
how
the
this
BBI.
meeting lends itself to negativity.
So here's the thing. The people who are selected to attend these meetings.
Selected?
Yes, selected.
Who selected them?
That is exactly the question.
You know you're going to tie yourself in knots here, but carry on.
The people who were selected to attend these meetings, how were they selected? How
But they were not
picked?
selected.
They were selected.
I read the same newspaper as you.
Yes. How did
Those
those people end up
delegates
there?
that you refer to, the 300 delegates, every political party in this country has delegates. We don't even select, they're there.
Mm-hmm.
They're known. When you have meetings of this
So
this
give me the
nature,
composition of this.
I don't
So
know.
the delegation,
I only know the numbers.
The delegation,
300.
the delegation from Nakuru, from Kisumu, for instance.
I don't know who they were.
Was it political parties? And that's a question I'm raising.
I don't know who they
And
are,
that is
and
the
it
question.
doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It was a political meeting.
The process is
Whoever
as
holds the meeting
important as
decides.
the result. Remember this, city, always.
Were there people who were prevented from attending the meeting?
Yes.
Like
They
who?
said you cannot
People-
come.
Wait, let him explain.
You
Who are they?
see, if people are being facilitated by the county government, and the county government has elected the 300 people, how have you picked those 300?
I don't
Right?
know how they picked them up.
Exactly, and those are the questions that emerge.
No, but
those 300.
why should
those
they emerge?
300? Because it's not because of lack of clarity. How are you selecting these 300? Are they representative of? If you are telling me, City,
All
listen.
right. I don't understand.
If
this.
you are telling me, because what I'd like to see is this, that if you have this kind of meeting, so you're saying that this one represents the people in this region in this way. Women are represented, and there's a women representation that is structured. Youth are represented, it's structured. Businesses are represented, that is entrepreneurship, it's structured. Professionals are represented, it's structured. And then political parties, all political parties from all affiliations are represented. It is structured and it's contained. It said, these are the people who are
So
coming.
you're saying this
right?
structure you've given is the only way in which people can decide who it is who attends meetings?
It is the best way.
Oh.
It is not the only way. Clearly, as we can see from what happened in Kisii, it's not the only way. But it's
pro-
the best way.
whose
If you say that
initiative-
only members of ODM are going to attend a meeting, or only people who are pro having a strong prime minister are the ones who are going to attend this meeting, so that by acclamation we shall say that we want a powerful prime minister are coming out of that meeting. Surely, this is completely engineered.
This was Ongwai's initiative. This meeting was his initiative, and said, let's have this meeting so that we can have a forum, consultative forum, on breaking apart the tenets of the BBI for people to understand. Is it not?
Nope.
No? So what was it? He called together, what according to you, he called together like governors as himself to sit down and have a conversation, a political meeting on BBI. I still don't see the problem.
Who called the meeting?
Ongwai, and he was now saying that people would come along with him. And so, and Waiguru came, of course, Raila Odinga was there.
This meeting was not organized by one governor. This meeting was organized by the 6 governors of the region. That's why the 6 county governments.
Spearheaded it?
The 6 county governments, Raila Odinga spearheaded it. The 6 county governments.
Now
6
you
county
see the
governments
problem.
went and met. Right?
I see.
You see where the problem is.
I see where your problem
You're coming
is.
where your problem is.
I've understood.
The problem is the person who's actually knows.
Again, let me ask you
If the
important
president,
question.
even if it was the president who was organizing such a meeting, I'd say, Mr. President, you are jumping the gun. You have given the job to people. Let those people do the job.
Eric, I don't seem to understand.
Don't start bringing in politics into this thing.
The BBI is a political instrument. It doesn't matter what you call it.
You will not separate politics from BBI.
It's a political instrument.
You even have politicians who are aligning themselves with BBI, not
and
necessarily
that's where
because
most of the noise is coming from. Yes.
Of course.
Not necessarily because they
who have
agree
been
with everything
attacking the BBI from day one. So it doesn't really matter what the BBI, the proponents, do, it will be attacked. Now that they have a meeting, there's something very wrong with the meeting. And I'm asking, this thing which is wrong, apart from the structure which you propose, and they clearly opposed a different structure. Again, you're talking about differences which are neither right nor wrong. They're just differences. If a politician calls a political meeting, that's what they do. We have individuals who've been calling political meetings since 2017. Every week there's a political meeting. They just didn't have a platform like the BBI to post their political meetings on. But they have political meetings every single week. That is their prerogative. They can have those meetings even twice a week if they want.
And it just so happens that they have, of course, what you want to call political allies in different regions. And they said, look, here is where my allies are. Here is where they stand. Why don't we then
all
come
these
together to
Harambes at
discuss
churches where
call it that.
Nothing other than politics is discussed.
You know what? Call it that.
Call it what?
Call it that. Call a meeting and say, this is a political meeting to discuss our issues that affect us. This is a political meeting but don't say that this is a BBI forum. It is not.
Actually, you can.
Well, it is not.
These are politicians, and they can use any tool at their disposal to further their ends. There's nothing wrong with this.
This is where
the complaint is that some people have beaten others to the gun, and they seem to have gained further traction than others had hoped they would gain. So they are causing a little.
Those of
ruckus.
us who love this country also have a problem. And the problem here is not, because of the...
Eric, you really need to tread gently.
Yes.
You are then assuming that those who don't have your idea don't love the country.
No, they don't. Clearly.
Yeah,
they don't.
And clearly, the mandate of who loves the country and the direction and the tenets rests with you.
Yes.
Okay,
this is how I shall define those.
I'll tell you.
This is how I shall define. Listen, because the thing about it is this: those when I say those who love the country, basically, what I'm saying is those who are neutral in this matter, whether they support.
This is politics. There's no neutrality.
No. There's no
neutrality. There's no fence in politics.
There's a non-aligned movement. There's a non-aligned movement even in politics and global politics. Listen,
Eric, when was the last time you heard of the non-aligned movement? When was the last time you heard of it?
Today, this morning. I'm raising it up. I've just said it.
You are resurrecting it. It died internationally because it ceased to have significance. Now you're going to tell us you're resurrecting it. Tell us the significance.
So here's the issue, all right? And I'll say it again, slowly and carefully. We have had a BBI process. The BBI is as a result of a handshake between the president and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. So they met and they shook hands, and then they agreed, let's form a task force that will go around the country and collect views with a 9-point agenda, the TORs. And these are the issues. We've been having issues after every election, during every political campaign. What is it that we need to do to ensure that we shall never go back into fighting? What is it that we need to do to ensure that those who participate in elections, every vote counts, right? All those things were discussed by the people when the BBI team went around the country. Ledamo Lekina was here on Friday. He told us he took a helicopter, went to Narok, presented his recommendations, came back to Nairobi. Other people did the same around the country. And then the BBI task force presented its report. This report was launched with pomp and colour at Bomas of Kenya. Good. Then the next thing was, all right, so now we have the report. What do we do with it? Because the report does not tell us what happens to this report after we've presented it. The president and the former prime minister, in their wisdom, sat down and decided, one, let's extend the tenure of the task force. Secondly, let's appoint a committee of experts who shall look through this report and then come up with a way forward. This committee of experts has not started working. It has not yet said, this is the way forward. This is what we propose to do. This is the program with which we shall do the work. All right. So to ensure that we do not have politicians now coming in to say, oh, we fight this BBI, or bringing it down to BBI is all about 2020, to ensure that BBI does not get mixed up in this whole succession politics, the Prime Minister himself should make sure that, he steers clear of it, just like the President has. He says, guys, interact with the BBI report.
The Prime Minister?
The former Prime Minister, interact with the BBI report. The former Prime Minister also would say, interact with the BBI report, and let's wait for this new team that we've appointed to come to us and say, this is how we want to go forward to ensure that the BBI report comes to life. When we see a group of politicians sitting and meeting and discussing it before we've even received a report from the committee of experts, we're jumping the gun, and that's what I'm having a problem with. We should be waiting to hear from them on what they tell us.
We didn't get an initial report.
It's 20 minutes past 7.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
You're asking?
The question asked was a fairly simple one. When the BBI finished their first round of consultations, they did give a report, did they not?
Yes, they did.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Then we were told there is yet another bigger, expanded, more revitalized BBI group being formed, isn't it?
Yes.
Hasn't been gazetted, haven't started work.
Yes.
But whatever they presented was something that has been a subject of debate, has it not?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with all these things happening, I still fail to understand how it is a rally that was called by politicians in one part of the country to discuss what they call the BBI issues is an issue. I honestly still don't understand it.
Like-minded politicians, like-minded leaders, whether you want to look at it that way or not, but by virtue of the fact that they come from the same region, obviously there are certain things that they share. Mm-hmm. And obviously there was, the pull with which they could have been brought together because of these similarities. And so they pulled them together to discuss something upon which an initial report had already been released. Mm-hmm. Now, when this 30-man strong committee of experts comes up with their report or whatever it is that they're going to do, we don't know when that is going to be. However, this discussion has still taken center stage with the country's progressive politics. And they decided to have a meeting to discuss what is right now, what could be, what their contribution is going to be or not be, how it's going to affect them in their political lives. I still fail to see how they're jumping the gun. What gun?
They dug into public funds to finance this meeting, to facilitate people to move into these meetings from whichever other counties to Kisii. It was public funded, right?
Everything else that the BBI has done before this dug into public funds.
Yes, but this is not the BBI. These are politicians.
Discussing the BBI?
Yeah, discussing the BBI ahead of the team that's supposed to
actually be leading. So your issue is they're using government
public funds.
My issue is multi-pronged. That's one of them.
I don't think you actually have an issue.
This committee of experts, these 30 people will hold town hall meetings across the country and collect the views of Kenyans on the report and make recommendations to the task force. This is what the 30-member committee of experts are supposed to be doing. It's led by people like Professor Sihanya,
from where
lawyer Tom Masharia, and Catherine Muma. What they're supposed to be doing is they come up with, the same thing that we had discussed here. When I raised it, I said, I think the best way to go is this.
Eric,
is
you are sounding,
you
are sounding very much like the deputy president, because this is what the Standard quotes him as having said. What we witnessed at the weekend in Kisii was not a campaign for BBI, but a revival of ODM's 2022 presidential strategy. The handshake and other BBI debate has brought confusion in the Jubilee government and killed the opposition. That is what they quoted.
Yes.
And, you're more or less saying exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the evidence to support that view?
What view?
This particular view.
His view.
That this is a 2022 presidential campaign.
His view? His view is his view. I
have tied in your view with his.
I don't necessarily now have to give evidence on his view. I'm giving evidence on my view. And my view is
I'm saying
clear.
that your evidence is non-evidence. Because
my evidence is very, very clear, CT. Listen, I have said this is how things are going. We have a committee of experts that was appointed.
Yes.
This committee of
hasn't
experts,
been gazetted, so haven't begun work.
This committee of experts.
Carry on.
This committee of experts. Yes, it's supposed to begin its work shortly. We still haven't heard from them on the way they want to do their work. But the thing is, they were appointed by the government, by the president, in support and in consultation and agreement.
You are aware when you say the government includes the deputy president.
It includes everybody.
So why is he opposing something that he himself was part of?
Would have said go ahead and please do. I think what you're trying to say, Eric, is that
probably
until
because he's agreeing with me, they should wait for this
committee of experts does their work. Nobody should call a public forum. Don't sit down and discuss BBI until this committee of experts can actually do their job.
Yes.
So remain mum on the issue. Something that is clearly taking the country by storm.
Yes.
Really, where is it said that you can't actually come then and have a forum or to discuss it, or politicians come together to discuss it? Where is it said?
The same thing CT and his people used to tell us, because CT used to tell us when we discuss BBI, people who are like-minded.
He will tell us.
CT and his like-minded people used to tell us before the BBI report came out, and we tried to discuss BBI. We'd be like, but why don't you just wait for the BBI report to come out? Why are you talking about something that you haven't seen? Why are you talking about a process that it's still going through wait for the report? Now,
it's actually you who actually fought that argument. I actually never said anything of that sort about the BBI.
Wait for the report.
No, I didn't. Not once did I ever say it.
You said it many times, CT.
Nope.
Wait for the report?
No.
Okay, so the report came out.
Okay.
The report came out.
That was you who kept saying, but why are we discussing something that hasn't come out?
Now the report has come out.
Yes.
Okay? And then again, now we are saying that people should not discuss it, or people should not talk about the elements therein.
Internalize it, yes, and all those things,
but
yes.
You must understand the process of
the context of Kenyan politics.
The process of internalization comes along with the comprehension, which is what these individuals are trying to do.
Is exactly what we are seeing. The fallout coming out today.
This fallout did not start with this meeting.
The fallout here, saying
the fallout did not start from this meeting.
Of course, but here we are exacerbating it.
Started months and months ago.
But do not feed the bear.
There is very little that will be done that will not be said to contribute to the social
Do not
somebody
feed
can
the
stand
bear.
up
It
today.
appears to me that the meeting
Somebody
in
can
Kisii has
stand
caused
up.
panic in certain quarters.
Somebody can go and stand in Uhuru Park today and say something, and that will be said to contribute to the fallout. There is very little that will be said politically in this country from now until 2022 that will not be seen to exacerbate the fallout. It'll be whether you say it in the silence of your room and somebody records it and plays it on national radio, it will be seen to add pepper to the wound.
Some of it will be inconsequential.
Even it has.
So, for instance, you and I sitting down and talking about
things.
it. You and I sitting down in Uhuru Park and talking about it will be inconsequential. So, really, but then the consequence of this is when the person, core principle of the BBI, is actually leading a meeting of this nature.
If you ask me, what seems to be the problem is that it has caused this meeting. Why there is this hullabaloo and why we see these expressions that have come out is because clearly this meeting in Kisii has caused jitters. It has caused the hairs on the backs of the necks of certain individuals to stand and realize, oh my goodness, there could be something that could be of some kind of threat to me politically. And that is why we see the sentiments that have come out. Because at the end of the day, if what we are saying is true, then why does it matter if somebody has a meeting in Kisii and brings 6 governors together to talk about issues, or to just have a political rally and dub it BBI rally Kisii edition?
Or why does it matter when somebody has a harambe at a church meeting and discusses politics throughout the church meeting?
And nobody says anything about it.
What's the
issue?
So
then now somebody has a meeting in Kisii, somebody's rattled. And that's why we see what is being... Before, all these things that have been happening in this country where public funds had been used, why didn't anybody talk? Nobody said anything. Nobody has been complaining. Public funds have gone down the tunnel, down the drain, even further down into the depths of the earth, and nobody has said anything about it. But then somebody has a meeting in Kisii, 6 governors strong, they discuss and talk about it. No, public funds are being used.
So seriously,
and we should wait for the report.
This is your response to it? That we are meeting in Kisii because people have been meeting in church, because people have been attending church meetings and talking politics?
No, they're meeting to discuss issues. What we are saying...
That is not the premise of my argument.
Eric, these are my point is politicians are doing what politicians do best. That's really is my point.
They do it all the time.
I'm not adding to it.
Unlike I told you in the previous hour, it doesn't make it right. Just because a politician has done something and because this politician has done what the other politician has been doing, it doesn't make it right. So I am sitting here today and I'm saying...
So we're discussing the morality of this issue.
It doesn't make it right.
So
we're discussing the morality.
We are discussing the process.
No,
and I said the process is as important.
What you said, right
and wrong is connotations of morality.
I did not say morals. I'm talking about it doesn't make it right.
But if you say
right and wrong is morals,
the process is wrong.
Eric, when you say
the process is wrong, what do you want me to call it? It's justified.
When you say wrong,
whatever you want
again,
to use
you brought in morality.
Whatever you want to call it.
Morality within the sphere of politics. What on earth are we discussing?
It's not about the issue of morality. It's about the right process. It is not procedural. Let me put it that way. It is not procedural.
According to
me. Who's talking here? It's
actually,
me.
Actually, Eric does have a point. If it's his view,
It's okay.
then Eric, it's your view.
And I hold this view strongly. And that's why I'm raising it this morning.
Okay.
And we're
There's a
telling
procedure. Procedure to follow is let's wait for this 30-member committee of
Believe
experts.
me.
So everybody should zip their lips
30-member
No,
committee
no,
of
no,
until
no.
they
experts.
finish
I
their
don't
work.
think-
According to Eric,
do not
everybody
spend-
should zip their lips.
Do not
Don't spend
spend.
public
Do not
funds to talk
spend
about
public
it.
funds.
We should
Do
also
not
give our
spend.
view.
Do not spend
Yes.
public. Give your views.
And my
Don't
view is-
spend
and my
public
view
funds
is,
and meet in
Eric,
Kisii to have this kind of
You've given
conversation.
the term double Dutch new meaning. Yes, because you're talking about politicians, what politicians do, how they do them, and then you throw in morality. Hey, okay.
You brought in morality.
I didn't actually.
You brought in right
It's
and wrong.
You when you say right and wrong, morality, Baba.
I said it doesn't make it right. Procedural.
Okay.
Wrong procedure. Right procedure.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
We get it now?
Okay.
Are we together?
No,
It's
we're
half-
not together. I've heard you. I'm still trying to understand what you're saying.
No, you're still stuck
And
on the
maybe
morality.
At the end of the
Because
study,
the thing that you want to
study. At the end of this,
Because what you want us to talk about
I
is
will- I will.
you want us to reduce it all into, hey, but people go to church anyway. No. People go to church, shauri yao, let them go to church. But does that mean that you go to
at
Kisii
the
and
end
talk
of the
about
project,
BBI?
I will have
Wait.
understood it better.
Oh, you've monitored and evaluated everything.
Yeah, I will, yes, but yeah, okay.
At 7:30, this is a situation room with Kenya's biggest conversation. Of course, we're having a conversation on the BBI meetings. One has taken place in Kisii. Another one is scheduled for this weekend in Kakamega for Western leaders. We've seen leadership from the Deputy President to Musalia Mudavadi to Moses Wetangula to others who are saying, wait, this is not being conducted the right way. And this morning, I am in support of what they're saying. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads.
You ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Traffic.
Okay, let's take a look at Ngong Road this morning in the city. Heavy rains witnessed yesterday evening have caused chaos on Ngong Road and nothing is moving in and outbound to the city, unfortunately. Blue Post Thika at a standstill. There's jam all the way from Jomoko and nothing is moving there either. No commuter train this morning along the Syokimau Imara Daima Makadara CBD route. Hundreds of commuters have been inconvenienced and it has rained very hard, of course, since last night. So it is quite a messy morning. So with the commuter train out of service, we have a problem there as well. Traffic on Magadi Road into Rongai and Kiserian starts all the way at Acacia, and we're likely to see more rain this morning. Eastern Bypass 40 minutes in one position, so that traffic has been affected as well. There's a flooded petrol station along Mombasa Road in Mlolongo, and that is heading and rather pouring onto the main road. And we're dealing with heightened traffic levels. So around the city, everywhere you look, really, it is Traffic Monday. Let's see how that will ease off in a short while. We'll keep you posted. Send us a tweet, Spice FMKE, or give us a call on 0719 012 600. Let's try to keep you moving as best we can this morning.
.1 Spice FM. Kisii. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
One of the leaders, we talk about one of the senior leaders in Jubilee, is Meru Governor Kiraito Murungi. Meru Governor Kiraito Murungi penned an opinion piece over the weekend, last week, and he said, let nobody use the BBI as a Trojan horse. All right? Let's not use the BBI as a Trojan horse. And he was cautioning about the same thing. He was saying, we need to appreciate that the real politic of the BBI, it was not a product of any moral, ethical, or ideological considerations. It was a product of political realism and pragmatism on the part of Raila and Uhuru. The handshake was not a product of a soul-to-Paul conversion of the two leaders. It was a product of battle fatigue. That he was saying, basically, in his article, that we have an opportunity here. When the two gentlemen shook their hands at the steps of Harambee House, in March 2018, and then they ushered in the BBI process. It was actually a good thing for the country. First, it was the new word since the Iran conflict, the de-escalation of tensions. It provided an avenue through which Kenyans could air their views and say what they find working and not working, how they find solutions to be able to come through. Now, the BBI task force went through the country and they listened to the people. They allowed people to speak to them and they came together with a report. Now, what Kiraito was saying is, we run the risk, just like before the report was brought out and we were here bashing and lambasting the Tanga wing of Jubilee, of politicizing BBI and going to say that BBI is trash and BBI is going to bring in things that are not good for this country. We run the risk of also just letting politics take over this BBI process, which is meant to be a process that is people-driven, but politicians are likely to take over this process and politicize it and just use it as a 2022. So it becomes a 2022 tool. Everything else that's contained in this BBI report, remember the issue of let's look at our national ethos as a people. Let's look at how to recognize one another as a country. Let's look at how we can build a nation, not just a country of 44 tribes, but a nation called Kenya. All those things that it recommends that don't really touch on 2022 politics and succession politics could be lost if we allow politicians to take over and to have go around the country with a kind of rhetoric on 2022 succession and that kind of talk.
Who's to stop them from doing what they do best?
We run the risk. A politician is telling us, a senior politician is telling us, we run the risk. And one way of shielding...
the senior most politician in the Mount Kenya region.
In the Mount Kenya region.
Yes.
One of the things that he was saying is, let's make sure that we safeguard this baby and take this baby through to full term and let the baby be born, right? And this is it. When we do not follow this process, when we start saying that political parties are organizing these grand meetings and they're coming out with declarations and then they're saying this is a declaration and we want a referendum by June this year, we are running that risk of saying the politicians have taken over and the main thing that they're discussing here is we want to have a powerful prime minister. What happens to the entire baby? We are likely to throw away the baby with the bathwater if people take sides from a political point of view.
But have they not already taken sides? Is that not what we are
Sides
already?
were taken
a long time ago. Even
Yes.
before the initial report came. By the time, in fact, at the point in time when the handshake was made in March,
Sides were taken.
sides were taken. Even before this whole BBI idea came into being and then started its work around the country. Before the report, we already saw that sides had been taken. And even now, moving forward, there is very little that we're going to be able to say or do that is going to change the matter of sides having been taken.
Here's
very,
the thing.
very little.
And you've said, yes, before the handshake, sides were taken. There were serious sides, and that's the reason why there was a handshake, so that we can bring those sides together and calm down the tensions. Now, after the formation of the task force, one of the things that it was doing is it calming down the tensions and saying, yes, we're coming around the country and we want to hear everybody. We want to listen to all of you. Sides were taken, but the BBI report was saying, yes, whatever side you are, we are non-partisan. The BBI process is non-partisan. Now, when sides take over the process, it becomes partisan. And that's what I'm saying.
Eric,
we need to shield this
if
process
this is a national
from
process,
partisan politics.
What stopped the other partisan group who are not in Kisii from also having their BBI
Their own meeting.
What stopped them? Since it was a national project.
And nothing stopped them.
Then?
And tomorrow,
Why are they crying wolf then?
No, forget about them. If they did hold a meeting, I would be here again saying the same thing I'm saying this morning. It doesn't matter whether it is the ODM wing, it doesn't matter whether it's the Jubilee Tanga wing or Keleweke wing. Any of these political sides taking this kind of action that they've taken is wrong. And I'm saying it should be governed in a better way.
Let the
But I
chips
don't
fall
think-
where they may.
Yeah,
No,
but I don't think we should fool
that-
ourselves. We shouldn't fool ourselves
that
into
is
thinking
what
that sides
Kiraito-
have not
that
been
Kiraito-
taken
that
or
is
that
what-
everybody is coming together
that is
as
what
one big
Kiraito was warning.
happy political family where all is well. It is not the case.
That is what
We shouldn't
Kiraito
fool
Morongi
ourselves.
was
Yes,
warning
that
about.
is true that he's warning about something that has already happened, unfortunately. It has already happened. And we can see that it is rife, even within what is called the one ruling party. The divisions are rife until the point that it's been said time and time again that this brotherhood has disintegrated. It is nothing anymore. And that we are seeing that I think even at some point, Eric, you told us about this has come to an end. It is finished. This cordial relationship that the party shared at one point is not the case anymore. So he's warning us about something that has already happened. He's warning us about taking sides on the BBI, for which sides have already been taken. Sides were taken before people even understood what this initiative was in the very beginning.
Kiraito is not warning us about people taking sides. He's warning us against allowing those sides to actually infiltrate what we call this baby, the BBI.
It has already happened because people have already. We've seen leaders.
And we need to stop it.
We've seen leaders who have told their people.
We need to stop it now before it goes further.
Told their people without even giving them the opportunity to really understand what this initiative is about, and they've already influenced them in terms of what sides they would take. We've seen that happen across the country.
Yes.
It has already happened.
Those who are for, and those who are against.
We need to stop it.
It has already happened. People's minds have already been set in a particular way.
Exactly now,
the train has left the station.
No, we
friend.
need to ensure that we make sure that this BBI is actually a process that is safeguarded. So we have very many things that are contained in this BBI, whether it's going to say legal, where there's some changes in law, whether it's saying how are we going to deal with the IEBC going forward. When the issue now becomes, these particular parties have met and this is what they're saying, and these other parties are arguing against it. You see the kind of rhetoric that we have today, that the Tanga wing are saying this was just a 2020 political campaign. When we saw the people who were in that meeting in Kisii, for example, the CS for Interior standing up and saying, whatever this gentleman and our president tell us to do, is what we are going to do. It's good for our people. It brings in that whole politics that we're talking about.
So?
Muddies the waters.
So?
Muddies the waters.
So?
Muddies the waters.
Eric, these waters are being muddied further. They have been muddied. The clarity that we had was the handshake. I'm even not discussing the BBI. Because the BBI is a product of the handshake.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, we are not discussing the BBI with these meetings. That is certainly clear, and I think you understand that. Succession politics is what has taken center stage. And every time succession politics takes center stage, it obfuscates everything else. It's the biggest game in town because at party level, there's movement. At government level, there's movement. At so-called political association or assimilation meetings, there's movement. I'm sure even right now you'll find there's movement within ODM. You'll find movement in any party. If you go to Wiper, there's movement. Succession politics does that. So the BBI may very well be the sort of tool that we hoped would bring some clarity to things which are unclear. And most of the things that seem to have been brought out by the BBI were issues within the constitution that were not implemented. And because they were not implemented, certain things could not be seen for what they ought to had they been implemented. But that politics is going to be part and parcel of this BBI. Unfortunately, there is nothing that can be done except the president declaring there are going to be no more discussions about the BBI in any political forum. Meaning it is banned. It is going to be illegal to discuss the BBI outside the forum of these 30 people who have discussed it. In the absence of that,
people are going to talk, people are going to form meetings, people are going to do whatever they need to do to have people.
So do you see my point? That it runs the risk of actually being overtaken by that. So this kind of politics. So we reduce the entire BBI to 2020 succession.
But that's what has been done. Eric, in certain quarters, it has happened, Eric.
We can't run away from the 2022
in certain quarters, it has happened where people have already been convinced that this BBI is just to place certain people in certain positions for 2022.
Exactly.
There are very, very many people who believe that.
As a result of what?
Yes, as a result of the politicking. Absolutely.
Actions.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying.
Which is what I am
The
condemning.
train has left the station.
And I have condemned these politicians' actions from day one. I have condemned it from day one. And I said, for us to safeguard this BBI, for us to safeguard it, let's ensure that, first of all, we have a clear implementation matrix. We have a roadmap that is safeguarded by law and by universal declaration. We also have a way in which we shall have well-structured public meetings where, yes, if in those public meetings, of course, politics is going to play.
Eric,
that is what
when
happened
they had those well-structured meetings in the first BBI 1, because now this BBI 2, did complaints not come out? Did we not hear of people saying, well,
we were locked out, we were not able to present. They only came for a day. We didn't have enough time to present.
There are certain things,
yes,
ticks on a dog, they will continue to exist. It's not that I don't understand your perspective. My question really, I phrased it 2 words. So what?
So what? BBI is dead.
No, it isn't dead.
So what?
It has resurrected.
We continue with this.
It has become something that it wasn't before.
What it was not meant to be. We are allowing it to become what it was not meant to be.
Eric,
so we have spent so much
money,
taxpayers' money, to actually conceive BBI, and before we even take it to full term, we have allowed it to become something else. And we're taking nothing to protect it. I am saying we should protect it. We should say, no. This meeting in Kakamega, you guys, don't hold it.
Right. Wait. Why don't we pause for a second and ask
Wait for Professor Sihanya and his team to actually come up with a plan and say, this is what we'd like to do. We'd like to hold these meetings.
Had his version of what we're calling the BBI. That one died and went, did it?
Punguza Mzigo.
Yes. Okay.
Remember, he told us they're reviving. They're coming up with it in a different forum.
The governors came up with theirs, did they not?
They did. I can't remember.
Theirs actually didn't come to life. It was called Ugatuzi Initiative.
Right. Yes. So the Ugatuzi Initiative experienced a cardiac arrest and didn't move.
At some point,
didn't move beyond the first mention, isn't it? Now, Eric, if the the alternative versions of let's improve our lives via the Constitution and see the best way forward, 2 of them seem to be struggling along. This one remains. It'll have to be the battleground, because those who've been from day one, when it was initiated, it has had protagonists from day one.
Yes.
All right?
As expected.
Yeah, thank you. I think we are now on the same page. And the antagonism wasn't going to reduce with the passage of time. A meeting such as the one which was held in Kisii was definitely going to raise not dust, a storm dust, if there's such a thing.
Yes.
Now, that's what it has raised. And in my opinion, it is truly a good thing that it does. It has. Because then, this discussion we're having wouldn't actually be taking place, would it? And I'm still saying, so what? It has raised the dust. People have discussed it. And these people are politicians. They have a baby that was given to them that can produce the sort of thing that they want. Man, they are going to take this baby and run with it. That's what politicians do.
And that's the unfortunate bit. That they make it their bit, and it's instead of it being a national bit. If it's the other wing, if it was the DP Ruto side that had actually organized a North Rift meeting to discuss BBI, and then they brought in people from all the counties, you'd be hearing the same noise from these other quarters.
And you wouldn't be hearing from his mouth either that public funds were being used.
Of course not. but you'd be hearing it from
my
me.
My question, so what?
So what?
But you would be hearing it from me this morning saying it's wrong for this wing of Tanga to go around discussing BBI in the absence of the committee of experts. It's 13 minutes to 8 o'clock. I'm opening up the phone lines. 0719 012 600. Do you support the meetings that are held in Kisii and the one that's also scheduled to happen in Kakamega this weekend to discuss the BBI? Is it becoming a politicization of BBI or not?
96.1 Spice FM, Kisii. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
So some people may think that this is a boring discussion about BBI. And it's also because it's pegging right on the news of what has happened over the weekend. So when you talk about pegging a conversation, this is what pegging a conversation is all about. Is it right to have a BBI forum happening in Kisii and another one scheduled for Kakamega this weekend? Is it right to go about having these meetings without getting direction from a committee of experts that has been formed by the president with their consultation with the prime minister?
Since when have politicians required permissions from any committee of experts? Since when?
Since when did what?
What would be wrong if they only held it in Kisii and Kakamega?
And then go to other parts of the country.
Yes, then there'd be something fundamentally wrong. I actually feel they should go to other parts of the country and do the very same thing they've done in Kisii and they've announced they're going to do in Kakamega. That's what they should do. Go around the country.
Let's go to the phone lines in Kericho. Victor, good morning, Victor.
Yes, morning, Eric.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Doing?
Yes, morning, Mugandu.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Eric, please shed light on whereabouts of Nyeri.
She's away for this week.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Happy New Year, guys. I would like to wait on the... Yes, I would like to wait on the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way to go on BBI is a committee of experts.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thing like forums in Kisii, Kakamega, Kericho, name it. Those are the side shows, and as one of the prominent politicians talked over the weekend, that this is meant to milk public funds. I think it might be true to some extent.
Mm.
Yes, because as you can see, they are alleging that the forums like the one that took place in Kisii.
Yeah.
There were some selected delegates that went there.
Yeah.
So talking of delegation in Kenya, we know of MCAs and above. So where are we, the Wanjikus, the common mwananchi?
Good point. City Muga is asking, so what?
Yes, City Muga.
Yes.
How are you, my friend?
I am very well, thank you, my friend.
Yes, so what?
Well, it's an adequate question. It actually demands a response.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm totally against that, my friend.
Okay. Thank you very much, Victor.
Yes. Thank you.
Phone lines are open 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. A committee of experts of 30 members was actually formed by President Uhuru Kenyatta towards the end of the year that was supposed to put together the way forward for the BBI report. So the BBI report is out. They should go around the country, collect views from the people, and then break it down into either pieces of legislation, into what requires to go into policy, what requires to go maybe into constitutional amendment via the referendum route or via parliamentary route. All those things should come out of this task force. Now we are seeing meetings being organized by politicians that have, one has happened in Kisii, another one is scheduled to happen in Kakamega this weekend. Maybe others will happen around the country. But in the absence of this BBI committee of experts, is it right? I am saying that they should wait. It's actually jumping the gun. They should wait for the committee of experts to tell them what should happen. Let's go to Kisumu. Emmanuel, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're fine,
Very
thank
well.
you.
Hope your new year is starting well.
Yes,
Tell us.
very well.
Okay, I'm in support of CT, what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think the president should have come out clear and maybe ban these forums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my take on that. Because whatever, if we're not careful enough as a country,
Yep.
we're going to lose the real meaning or the real intention of the BBI.
Mm-hmm.
Because I personally,
Yep.
I supported from the on-go.
Mm-hmm.
I supported it, and maybe the intentions were made to be good enough for all the Kenyans.
Yeah.
But the diversion is now taking. I think we're going to lose his real intentions and the meaning for uniting all the Kenyans.
Right.
For example, I was following keenly the forum that was recently held in Kisii.
Yep.
And actually, the sentiments over there from all the speakers, I think it does not hold any atom of unity uniting all Kenyans. Because now, as you can see, even as from where you sit, you can clearly see that there's some division now trying to come in. We have two factions here now. Yeah, because now the people who are supporting the DP now, they feel like they're being left out. Look at this calendar for this forum, wherever they are scheduled to happen. One was in Nyanza region, the second one will be in Western, another one is scheduled in Mombasa, and then another one, I don't know, in Nyeri. Because it's being taken to Nyeri because of the presence of Maina Kavanda as the governor for Kirinyaga. Now they think that they need to do something also in Central.
Actually,
but
Maina
the
Kavanda comes
remaining
from
one,
Muranga. Maina
that's
Kavanda
the
comes
Central
from
region.
Muranga, actually, yes.
We're now looking at provinces.
Central,
Muranga is in Central, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So Nyeri is representing Central. They were in Nyanza. They are going in Western. Now they are following the former provinces. They will be going to Coast. They'll be going to Nairobi. And if you go to the map, these are strongholds for ODM, if I'm not wrong. Only Nyeri is coming into the picture because they have the new recruits from Central Kenya.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Your point is made.
So, if we're not, let me just finish. If you're not clear enough, if you're not careful enough, we are going to find that BBI is going even to divide Kenya more further rather than uniting them. So I think people should shun up these forums, let the committee of experts do their work. Like in 2010, we never had forums to discuss amendments to the Constitution. We only had committee of experts who took people's views and then they came out
and
with
they did their work. Asante sana, Emmanuel.
So let them do their work. Let politicians sit in their offices.
And wait. Okello in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning,
Very well, thank you.
How's everything? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
When do we stop saying Happy New Year?
Tomorrow.
We can stop even now.
Yeah,
yes.
we can stop tomorrow.
If you're talking to somebody for the first time in the year, even if it's September, you tell them Happy New Year.
I tell them Happy New Year. Okay,
Yes.
sawa.
So, Okello, what do you think of these meetings?
Well, the minute we decided to put in political issues in the BBI, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have, but the minute we started putting in political issues like prime ministers and all that kind of stuff, this was going to be a political process. Unfortunately, people have lined up for 2022. I keep on wondering why people talk about that year and we are in 2020. But, that's the nature of politicians.
Yeah.
So the minute we put in such things, we were going to have a political process.
Yep.
I think what we should have looked at as BBI, and unfortunately, maybe this is a criticism on the BBI committee. I think what we should have looked at is we have a constitution.
Yep.
How do we implement it? It's a very good constitution.
Yep.
We don't need to change it. We just need to see how we can implement
How best to implement it.
Okay. But the minute we started putting in political issues, then you're going to have a political...
It'll go south.
Yeah.
Thank you, Okello. Sami in Magarini, how are you?
How are you doing, sir?
We're fine, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine too.
What do you think of the meetings, the BBI
I would like
meetings?
to put in my input also that I think I'm not actually victimizing the meeting, but what I'm actually victimizing is that why should they hold a meeting without the experts? Because I think in the first place, we need the experts so that in case they have anything to do with the economic zone that they want to be included in the BBI, that's what actually the point should be.
So the experts can take the notes.
Some of the politicians from Coast, they go as far as Kisii. To do what? Joho should be in Mombasa to help his people put their input in the BBI report, but rather than going all the way to Kisii.
So it's okay if he does it in Mombasa?
Yes.
So it's okay if he does it in Mombasa, but he shouldn't go to Kisii?
But in the presence of the experts.
I think everyone should stay at home. Those in Kakamega should be in Kakamega, and they present their views that concerns the economic bloc. And those in Mombasa should be in Mombasa to present their views that affect the economic bloc. I think that's what about the experts being extended their time.
Okay. Sami, good points.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Have a good day in Magarini.
Yes.
I don't know.
Experts are there.
I don't know why
Experts are going to hold town hall meetings.
I don't know why this is so difficult
Experts
to understand.
should be waited for to actually say, now, we are coming to Kisii. We'd like for you, governors of the Nyanza region, to organize this meeting so we can come in and listen to what the people say.
But
if people see clarity...
What makes you think they cannot do that?
They can.
But we're jumping the gun. The problem I'm having is let's not do it before they do that. Because when we do that, we're trying to influence what the people will tell the committee of experts when they come.
Of course.
You see, that's what happens. It's trying to play political influence on a process that should be for the benefit of Kenyans. This is the problem of the
And you are telling me that these things which are meant to be the benefit of Kenya cannot be politically influenced. They are always politically influenced.
Even now, how many things are we living with? How many things are we living with in this country right now that have been are a result of political influence? Decisions that have taken place as a result of political influence. There are things that happen across the country that involve lives of you and I as a result of political influence. Now, what we are saying is that moving forward, we should stop with the same individuals who are still sitting in positions of leadership.
When those two individuals shook hands, they were basically saying, let's stop the way things are done, right? Let's build bridges. And that's the whole idea of building bridges. Let's build bridges. Let's change the way we've been doing things.
There are things that have harmed our country. For there to be need to build bridges. What had broken?
What was the problem?
A lot of things. The 9 points in the BBI task force TOR. Those are the things that are broken. Those are things that we're supposed to look at and see and tell us, why do we have these problems? And they did. So we sat here and we looked at the BBI report.
Yes, we did. And it's not that we didn't even understand the problems before the BBI came about. The BBI simply documented what was already known. Yes, exactly.
Indeed.
So
let the conversation continue on our social media platforms. Spice FM KE on Facebook, Spice FM KE Twitter, at Spice FM KE, and our hashtag is The Situation Room. You can also tag us individually at Nduoko, at CT Muga, at Eric Latif. So it's coming up to 8 o'clock. Let's first take a look at what's happening on the roads, and then we shall continue the conversations. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, right here on Spice FM. Good morning.
Looking on Mombasa Road, it's a standstill all the way from the Gateway Mall, and that is affecting traffic far in, all the way down towards Bellevue. And so, yes, Mombasa Road is one to contend with today. There's a standstill at the Thika Road, obviously at the turn into Thika Town. So traffic in and outbound on Thika Road today is quite something. All right, of course, we see that Kasarani Mwiki Road this morning, they've allowed some cars to go through, but unfortunately we have buses, trailers, and matatus stuck because the road actually is an ocean. Ngong Road also is a parking lot. Things are not moving. Langata Road all the way from the Galleria Mall is traffic and more traffic. Langata Road inbound is a parking lot from Bomas of Kenya, and nothing is happening there. Understanding that there's still showers that are taking place in different parts of the city, and that is affecting traffic this Monday morning, unfortunately. We're going to ask you to be patient. You'll come out of it, and that's for sure. But for now, it's bumper to bumper everywhere you look. 0719012600. In this case, do call us if you find an alternate route. Spice FM KE is a Twitter handle. Let us know what you see that we can share. Keep it moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Broadcasting from Nairobi, 94.4. We're in Mombasa, 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, Nyeri 90.9 and Malindi 97.7. We live stream this show every morning on Spice FM KE Facebook. We're on YouTube, Spice FM KE. We're also streaming live on Twitter at Spice FM KE and our website www.spicefm.co.ke. This is a one and only 24-hour audio-visual radio station. That means that you can actually watch this show as you listen to it. That's why we are live streaming on those platforms. Well, it's 9:03. In the room this morning, of course, Eric Latif, C.T. Muga, Nduoko. Talk about education.
Yes, well, now, of course, secondary schools open today, a week after primary schools opened in the country, and that means that there's quite a lot in terms of demand from the government to get things rolling. Of course, coming off the cusp of the KCPE and KCSE exams that took place at the end of last year, we see that there's a cash crunch, and this, of course, is around the country, but this continues to affect, or rather continues to bite, as newly admitted Form 1 students start reporting to their new institutions. Unfortunately, things are not going as smoothly as we would expect. More than 1 million students are set to join schools, and the government is struggling to accommodate them. Some 25,000 primary schools across the country are also yet to receive funding. And please understand that they opened actually last week, but they're yet to receive funding in what obviously we know as free primary school education. They're facing a severe financial crisis ahead of Form 1 students reporting, as the government is yet to release funds for free education, despite promises that the monies would have been released last week. And we see something very clear and glaring to us, that there is a problem, of course. And we understand that, of course, this comes off of the fact that the government, rather the country across board, is facing financial problems. The most affected are day schools, which they rely entirely on the government to fund their activities. But we find that with boarding schools, parents are paying something. So that means that in terms of their fees, something definitely is being taken care of. Now, as we look at what is going on now, we ask ourselves, because of the fact that no answers have been given in terms of when these monies will be expected for children to actually go back to school and enjoy what it is that they should in terms of an education, no answers have been given. And in terms of when the money will come out, we have the PS Ministry of Education actually saying nothing, remaining mum at this point and saying, okay, we'll get back to you, or is not readily available for comment, unfortunately. And so children are going back to school. Those who went back to school, 25,000 schools have been affected in terms of they've not received the money that they should have received last week. We have million students going back to school today, and in terms of what the government is supposed to do to support secondary school education, that is not going to happen right now, because yes, the money from Treasury has not been released. And in terms of answers, in terms of a timeline, we don't know when this is going to happen. And I'm looking at this right in the face, and I'm saying that with the current state of limbo in which the country finds itself, especially in terms of austerity and in terms of provision when it comes to funding, that we need to raise our eyebrows just a little higher if we're not able to even provide the basics that are needed when it comes to education. If we're not able to give some kind of urgency when it comes to children going back to school, or promises made that should actually be fulfilled, the eyebrow now needs to raise a little higher and translate into something being said. And in this case, hopefully something actually being done. Because initially when I looked at this, I thought to myself, okay, secondary schools is the beginning of the week. Maybe something will be done in the course of the week, will be fine, right? But we also got to remember that primary schools opened last week. And we say that...
it was not an impromptu date. It was known, but the time they were closing...
Oh, I mean,
they will open.
A year in advance, they knew when they were going to open, okay, essentially. And primary schools, 25,000 around the country, are yet to receive funding from national government of how education will be supported. So now we have secondary schools opening today, 1 million students going to school. And unfortunately, new. And then this is just Form 1. We're not even talking about 2, 3, 4. All right? We don't know. We know that that money has not been released. What we don't know is when it will be released. And unfortunately, the man right at the point who should be giving us the answers in the name of PS Bello Kipsang has been very clear. And at this point, it's a hands-up approach in terms of, I don't know when this money will come. Was it budgeted for? Yes. Was it allocated? That's a totally different question. Was it sent out and kept aside knowing that schools are going to open? So we're already dealing with issues of overcrowding. We're already dealing with issues of the government system, which was said to be foolproof, has been set aside as of last week by CS Magoha, who said, okay, fine, we're going to do it manual this time, in terms of bursaries and allocations and things like that, in terms of placements. So now here we are, and we're saying, that's fantastic. With all of this, we have promised that everybody's going to get a place in school, but unfortunately, we don't have the money. So everybody's going back to school, traversing the country. What has needed to be bought has been bought for students to go back to school. But in terms of the implementation, in terms of getting children or in school, sitting, being taught, there's nothing.
You just described what we refer to as matters coming to a head.
This is it.
I got an instant headache.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. It was bound to get here. In this very station, we've actually raised alarms about all these things that seem to be going wrong at the same time. And there was always, again, some political explanation for it. But, there is this and there is that. Now, crunch time. There actually is no money. But you know what? Join the queue.
And here we are with... Sorry, go ahead, Siti.
I'm saying join the queue because there are people who we borrowed money from who want their money. Same pot. There are government employees who will want to be paid. Same pot. There are counties that will want to be given money for whatever business that they as counties are supposed to be involved in. Same pot. They will be... should I go on?
Go on.
There are people who do business with the government who haven't been paid. Some 1 year, 2 years, some even 4 years. Same pot. Then there are people who have done business with the county governments. They also haven't been paid. Same pot. And the list goes on and on and on. So when I say join the queue, that's precisely what I mean. The university staff believe
I'm
that
planning on going on strike in the next week.
Yes, because there was an understanding and they were told that this money that you will be paid out, then they were also told, sorry, it's not available. Phantom money. Yes. So, join the queue.
Now, here we are, though. We're looking at... you
What
could be
impact-
play a basic education, the basics, sending children to school, fulfilling a promise, essentially, that you said you would, putting the hearts and minds of, teachers, parents at rest, saying that this is something that we're actually going to provide for our students. And then even the basic, not being able to do that either.
Politically, it is a nightmare for any government. Because the moment children are involved in an issue, parents will not forgive you.
Oh, no.
They will not forgive you.
But, City, you're a chair of BOM, right?
Yep.
When money comes from the government per child to a school, what is this money used for? When you say that...
First of all, it doesn't come when it should. Let's just start.
So this is nothing new?
No, the delay. No, I don't consider it new. We know it will eventually come, but it doesn't come. And there's money that you're given directly for development, and that's just it. You're told development.
This is development.
Whether it's a classroom that needed windows, development, clear. Then there's support for the food, blah, 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 blah. Government money comes itemized. It's not general money for you to use as you see fit. You're told, and you know. And you cannot go outside the boundaries that have been set.
If money has come for development, you can't now say...
You cannot feed children with it.
food.
No, you can't feed children with it. It has to be.
It
So
has
what's,
to be
what's
for
the
money.
likely impact of this delay? That's
It
I'm
depends
trying to get into.
It depends
so
for how...
last week,
No, this is nationally.
Yeah.
What often happens is money comes in spats. It comes for this, then another one comes this way. This one, from what we're reading, it is all the money or any money that's supposed to go to the schools,
Is
not
not there.
a cent has been received.
Right.
There you
The
go.
question I would ask is, how long?
This is the thing, and unfortunately, just like he's saying,
So let's say 1 week.
I
So far,
took
those
back.
schools-
I took back actually till last year, and there was a delay in January for this. However, by the 21st of January, because by the 21st of January, part of this money then had been released.
sent.
Okay, had been sent to the schools, and then we're talking nationwide, and at least then they could begin to start doing what it is that they needed to do, the supplies bought, etc., whatever.
So it got
was
to
for
school
feeding.
like what, 2 weeks late, 2.5 to 3 weeks late.
Yes.
Yes.
What was
However,
the
then
impact in
looking,
those 3 weeks?
however, looking, I probably need to look a little bit further into that in terms of the impact. However, what you see and was very clear was that they were told that they would receive the money by the 21st, which they actually did. The difference between then and now
Or is there? We don't know.
is that
The
there's
PS
no
says-
indication. And when he's being asked, if you know some money is coming, at least you can tell somebody, okay, CT, at least by around 20th, we would have at least sorted out some issues.
Utakuwa at least.
Utakuwa at least. In this case, the man has refused to speak.
Wisely so.
He's mute.
Wisely so.
You want to
Because he
commit.
also does not know.
No, it is wisely so. Bear in mind, schools will not stop functioning Because if you have a supplier who supplies you with food stuff, it's not as though they are paid when they deliver it.
So they will supply knowing.
So they will supply
knowing that
teachers are paid directly by the Teacher Service Commission.
So they will come to school. All right?
Electricity is paid at the end of the month, so power and all those.
The schools will run. Children will actually go to school. They will function. The question you should ask is, in 3 months' time, if that money is available, and I'm putting it at 3, because even the vendors can wait up to 3 months.
Beyond that,
that's a term. You're going to have a problem on your hands.
Is it likely that we can actually even go to more than a month?
One of the things that I have seen about this particular government is the very things you think
are unlikely
are the things that are most likely. I wouldn't put it beyond them.
Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association Kesha Chairman Kahi Ndimuli said Saturday that 10,000 institutions were yet to receive capitation. The most affected are day schools, since they rely fully on capitation to run their activities. For boarding schools, they are not that bad, as parents have paid fees. He said the government had assured schools that funds would be made available on time. And this was last year. Some 25,000 primary schools across the country are yet to receive funding. They opened last week on Monday. Education Secretary Dr. Bello Kipsang did not respond to inquiries on when schools will receive funds. So clearly here we see that there's silence, and unfortunately in the presence of silence then speculation is rife in terms of what could actually be happening.
So he didn't say I don't know.
No, and then it goes on.
He was just non-responsive.
No, initially he had said that money would come last week Monday. Okay. Now, by Friday, when being asked then what is the situation, of course this was media inquiry, what the situation was and how soon are we looking at getting money into schools, he then basically said no comment on this. Now, lack of funds is expected to further strain the already congested institutions that are struggling to ensure 100% transition, because this comes on the back of a promise made by the CS himself that everybody would be in school. Everybody, all of the students who sat KCPE would be in secondary schools this year. Now, it has seen a number of them convert libraries and laboratories into classrooms to accommodate more learners, of course, coming from the directive that nobody is to be left out. The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, Secretary General Akelo Misori, castigated the government for being slow in releasing funds, saying they are inconveniencing head teachers. I wish the government would tell us what the situation really is. So here we are again with a vacuum of information in terms of what really is going on. And of course, you can't help but speculate, especially when the government said we don't have any money.
This again, actually, I think it goes up to the Treasury. So the National Treasury is the one that releases the money. So the Education Ministry has done everything that it should. It has the NIMS, it's what is called NEMIS. It knows what student is in which school. Across the country, it knows the number of students that are required for capitation per head. This school should receive this amount of money. Then the people who release the money are at the National Treasury. But like you're saying, CT, if I have all these competing interests and competing needs, I know, yes, I'm going to send money to the schools, but if they can wait another 5 more days to the National Treasury is a long time. Because within those 5 days, I have paid several other people. I need to disburse money to the counties. I need to pay suppliers. I need to pay the Chinese. They want their whatever. I need this money. If we don't have enough in the kitty right now, and I don't want to send money to 2 schools, and then the other schools ask, where is our money?
If you look at the
But if they were sharing that information, it would be a totally different scenario.
They can't.
But they can't share that information.
They can't because it likely spell disaster and doom. If you look at and understand the way KRA is actually running around, getting money from whichever source in whichever way, you will know that this problem is not skin deep. This is a genuine problem.
Goes to the marrow.
When I say it's crunch time, I mean it is crunch time.
I told you guys last week that we're probably going to see in the next couple of days yet another institution or corporation that is going to come to us and say, look, here we are, we don't have any money, and we're trying to see how here we have education who's telling us today that, look, we've done, like you said, Eric, we've done everything that we need to do, but there's no money coming from the Treasury. They are the ones who subsidize education. They're supporting in terms of finances to make sure that we can make it free, in quotes. However, here we are, kids have started school, but we don't have any money to send them to school.
Should we do a harambe for our schools just for
the Ministry of Education?
Yes. just for this particular one term and say, this is how much we need.
We know
can
the
actually
government
raise.
is suffering.
Yes. We don't want our government to suffer and therefore our kids to suffer.
No.
17 minutes past 8 o'clock. Good morning.
No.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The government has a role, and the citizenry expects the government to actually ensure that that particular mandate that they have is fulfilled. And if it involves money, we will argue that that is why we pay our taxes. And not just taxes, even these ridiculous new taxes that the government keeps coming up with, we still end up paying. So they have no excuse. They're not going to tell us they don't have money. All this money that they keep collecting, or they say they keep collecting, where on God's good earth
does it go?
Yes.
If the basics cannot be provided for. Look, if you have an individual, a man and his wife, you've gone broke for a particular point of time. So the things that are lacking, the first thing you do is take care of the basics, right? You put some food in the house, you make sure at least there's some fuel upon which we can run. Here we are, and we're saying even the basics
are a problem.
The basics
so
you cannot do.
Really
how deep is this problem?
This problem really? Well, let me ask the question: is the government solvent?
That's a strong question.
Well,
it's a powerful question.
One has to ask the question because
in the light of everything else that we are seeing,
when you talk about university going on strike, you know that one. It's a dance that we expect from time to time.
Yeah.
Okay? Teachers' salaries, they wanted this, hasn't been paid. Dance, we know. But teachers keep getting their salaries every month. University lecturers keep getting their salaries every month. This increase is the one which is causing new tunes. Okay? Now, when you are telling us that against the backdrop of new taxes, okay, you are telling us that children will have a problem being maintained in school. Because somehow the money that you are supposed to give schools cannot be given. Then we have to ask the question, are we solvent?
And it's not even about the students being maintained in schools. We have 1 million, with what we already have, who are going to form 2, 3, 4. Then you have 1 million new entrants. Of course, we had the KCSE who now are off. But you have 1 million new entrants who are starting afresh, anew, in a different level of education. And of course, we ask ourselves, because we had said, okay, yeah, maybe they can get by. There's suppliers who will bring along, food. Suppliers will bring along stationery because they don't expect to be paid until the end of the month. However, when you're looking at those joining Form 1, we needed new desks and extra classrooms. A school like Kisi High, for example, will be admitting 650 learners, which means that we will have at least 9 streams, according to the COPET leader, Edward Obocha. And he was asking for increased funds, which makes sense, right? Yes, you have some who are
So if the money goes to do these things, to build desks and such, then the money should not actually be going at the beginning of the term.
This is what we're saying.
Because this stuff should have happened over the holidays.
Exactly.
That's when
and
you
based
do the
on what
procurement and get the desks.
Based on what the COPET chairman said, they started based on the the expressions that were made or the sentiments that were put forth by CS Magoha in October. This is when they put forth these requests. October. And they said, based on this, if we're going to take in everybody, we need some of these things
extras
to be done. And understanding that it is a national umbrella body, this was something that was going nationwide in terms of what do you need? All of that was then
collated and
put together in a report that was actually sent to the minister. It was done in October. So at this point, I'm not even going to fault schools. I'm not going to fault school heads in terms of what they needed, because there's no way the students are coming in January 6th, January 13th, and you say, oh, by the way, we need 3 classrooms. No, it doesn't work like that. They had done it previously, and this was not done. But again, I'm going to go even deeper to this and agree with CT that in this case, we've got to ask ourselves, really, what is the underbelly of the problem, and how deep has this cancer eaten? And how far are we seeing our problems if we're actually looking at it? Because to say that we can't send children to school,
we can't just send the children to school.
Right, if you had said a problem existed.
If we get, like CT was saying, if we get to 3 months and the money hasn't been sent, then the question is valid. Is the government solvent? In fact, it will not be a question. It will be a glaring
reality
truth and reality that we are not solvent. We don't have money. But now where we are, it's just a delay with what? 7 days, 5 days, 10 days. Maybe by the end of this week, all the money will be gone. Will have been disbursed. Remember, it doesn't require trucks to take the money to these schools. It's not like we are doing cash in transit. We are basically transferring the money from one system to another, electronically into bank accounts. By the end of day today, that money could even be there. Maybe we are panicking out of nothing.
No. The panic has a basis. When the PS in charge of that particular ministry cannot tell you anything, you have cause for concern. You do. Because
especially coming off the promise that it would come a week before.
Look, folks, we know there's a delay.
It's coming next week.
We're hoping to do it by this time.
That time comes.
When there's no such statement, unfortunately,
it's because the PS is not a politician. The politicians are the ones who are very good at giving promises.
The PS is the person who is in charge of. He
is the accounting officer.
Yes, there's a returning officer. That one also. He's the accounting officer in that particular ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So he would know. And I think it is wise for him to be silent. But it is also wise for the government to actually tell us.
To speak.
And tell us, guys, we actually don't. The truth.
The truth.
If we don't have money, we don't have another country to go to. This is it. We will know and we will say, okay, we don't have money.
This is where we are.
So
schools are opening, all right?
Schools are opening.
Have opened, others are opening this week, right? Very many pupils will go to school and their parents have not paid school fees.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the mother parent also behaving the same way. It's the
same. They are not allowed.
It's the same way.
You're not
Basically,
allowed.
You're not allowed
go to school. We are going to sort it out within a few days. I'm going to come and talk to the head teacher. You just go first. I'm going to come and talk to the head teacher over the weekend.
Eric, every year.
This is the same thing that this parent is doing. What we are doing as parents?
Did we meet the budgetary requirements in terms of money for our activities?
It was budgeted for.
So, it's not. This is not a new budget.
It was budgeted for, and that information was made public.
It was budgeted for.
Yes.
It's true. And it's not that the government is saying that we are not going to pay because we didn't have money.
The government is saying nothing.
The government is saying
this
government
is basically, and that's the problem.
And that's why I'm putting it in parallel with the parent.
You must understand that last week they were saying something, and this is where the fear comes. Last week they were saying something.
The example of a parent, it's not that the parent is not aware that the children are going to open school. It's not that the parent has actually not worked hard at finding school fees. It's just that maybe they have not filled the amount. So I need to pay 10,000 shillings. I have 8,000. You go first. I will come and pay. I'll come and sort it out. I will sort it out.
That would be fantastic.
This is what happens.
This is what the government was saying. You're not getting it.
The government is Kenyanese. It's basically operating just like the rest of us.
Not when you say nothing. Do you see what I'm saying? The conversation happens.
You can't go to a headmaster and say, I don't have money. You can't.
But the conversation
actually,
happens.
Parents do.
That's what they do. They go to the headmaster and they say, look, I don't have money. I'm working on something.
What they do is they take the child with a promise.
Yes.
Okay, the smart ones come with a little money and a promise. But in rural schools, my friend, many parents simply, the school is in the vicinity, so, and some of the people, if you're a board member, it means you come from that area. Yeah. They know you.
You know.
So they're likely to call you and even tell you, I have this problem. And there's someone you know. It's not someone you don't know. Okay? Chances are they're even your relative.
Yep.
Now, where the problem arises isn't even that, because this is something we know, we understand the patterns, the works. There's nothing new I'm discussing here. The problem is when the government doesn't meet its end of the bargain. Usually, parents paying fees are a serious problem. Arrears are a serious problem.
It's a major issue.
Yes. But because the government sends money, schools are able to run. The head teachers are able to figure out what to do and how to do it. Now, if the government then doesn't give the money,
then there's no extra source.
Then there's a problem.
The situation becomes completely dire. That is what you need to understand. I talked about 3 months because when the vendors supply, they'll be patient for 3 months. They understand. And they also understand the government's delay. If 3 months down the line there's no money, schools will shut down. It's not complicated. Parents will be told, please come and take your children. We can't run the school.
Come and be going, as we say. But now in this case, this is where the worrying thing comes in. Is that last week at the opening of schools, 25,000 schools now, some maybe were sorted out because of this very thing that CT is saying. We're able to run it now. If we don't get money from the government, then we're going to start, bursting at the seams and we're going to start asking questions. Last week, they were told money is coming by a certain date. it didn't happen. And when they went back to ask, in this case, where are we now? They were met with silence. That's the problem. That's the worrying part of it. When now, previously you were talking, you had something to tell me. Now, when I'm asking you
ask
you
the
have
parents,
nothing
the
to
parents
tell
are
me.
just looking at you, giving you a blank stare. Clearly, there's
equal problem.
I mean, dear
Eric, remember we talked about these debts that county governments have, because now I'm going to the counties, all right?
Yes.
In many cases, the national government did give the county governments money. They alone know. Between them and God, they're the only ones who know where that money actually went. But it didn't go towards paying until the government intervened, the national government intervened recently and said, priority, forget development. You are going to pay debts. Now, in a county setting, this is how it works. If you have someone who is involved with some business in the county and gets paid, it means that projects that they have within at the village level will get done. It means artisans and people who have the ability to do this work at the village level will have money. So even if I'm not an artisan, but I know artisan XYZ works, I can borrow money from artisan as I wait for my sugarcane money to come in, or as I wait to sell my maize. And they will lend me the money. But if you stop it at source, this entire monetary ecosystem dries
collapses,
up. Yes. So there is no money anywhere. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter even if you send the children home, you're still not going to get the money. Because it actually genuinely isn't there.
Let's take a look at traffic as we continue the conversation. And with that, let's also bring in some breaking news coming out of Garissa this morning that there's been another Al-Shabaab attack reported last night in Kamuthe, Garissa County, where some 3 people are feared dead. It's also reported that some village this Kamuthe is a village that was attacked by Al-Shabaab last night. Some 3 people are said to have succumbed to injuries as a result of this attack. Of course, we'll be bringing you more breaking news on this, and as it happens, we get more and more information from Garissa. What we have so far is that there was an Al-Shabaab attack last night in Kamuthe, Garissa County, where some 3 people are reported to have died. There's a telecommunications mast that was also affected by that, and some villagers, of course, that when there's an attack in a village, of course, you know that there are people who also have run away and taken off from their homes. We'll bring you more updates on this. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 8:30.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM. Traffic.
Okay, so when it rains, it seems that people have lost all sense of being able to operate properly. 2 lorries have collided on Wayaki Way, and this means that it affects actually Mudangari area, which means that it affects everything in and outbound on Wayaki Way. And that, of course, affects traffic to the city coming down to the Museum Hill roundabout. So it's moving very slowly this morning. Of course, we still have the issue in Kasarani, so that has affected Thika Road traffic as well, moving very slowly. And those who are trying to approach the Globe Center roundabout have taken at least an hour to do so. It is a mess, really, wherever you look, from Langata Road to Ngong Road, and also coming off of the Thika Superhighway this morning. Nothing moving as we'd like it to move. The rains compound issues, of course. Please take it easy as you're moving. Let us know if you find an alternate route, and we can be able to share that information. But for now, because it's so wet, we ask you to take it carefully. You'll get where you're going eventually. 0719012600. Spice FM KE is on Twitter. Let us know. We'll let others know.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
28 minutes to 9 o'clock. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation right here on Spice FM. My name is Eric Latif. We have CT Muga and Nduoko bringing you some more information out of Garissa this morning. That we know there was a suspected Al-Shabaab attack at Kamuthe village in Garissa County. It said some 3 primary school teachers were killed, 1 student injured. at Kamuthe, Garissa County at around 2 a.m. Communications mast destroyed. And also we know that so those 3 who were shot, as well as some police officers were also injured. Police post was also attacked in that attack. So this is what is coming out of Garissa. So just an Al-Shabaab attack that happened last night. Unfortunate, but also it shows a state of security and need for security agencies to actually keep ensuring that they fight and push back on this. So we're discussing the issues of education this morning in this particular hour, and we're talking about schools are opening, secondary schools are opening this week, primary schools opened last week. Nduoko is bringing us to knowledge that money has not been disbursed from the national government to the schools. This is money that's supposed to be going to support the free education program that goes to primary school and secondary school. City Muga says it's not free. Well, the money that's supposed to support the education program in the country, free education program in the country. This is what has not been sent. It's supposed to be capitation per child. It's also supposed to be money that goes to support some issues like development and all. No money has been sent for this particular term to the schools. Why is that so?
Well, I mean, obviously because there's no money. First of all, there's no money. And even if there is, we're not being given reasons as to why that has not been released. And unfortunately, it is quite worrying because parents are hoping that the children definitely will go to school and also then receive adequate learning. But in the absence of such funding, then that adequate learning which you're looking for definitely will not be realized. And it just seems that there are many things that have come but seem to be underwater in terms of what it really means. And look at this whole NEMIS system, for example, within the Ministry of Education. Previously, they've been dispersing funds to schools for only learners whose details are captured in NEMIS. Now, as of last week, the minister now said that, okay, we're going to take it easy on NEMIS for a while. Not necessarily that you have to be part of NEMIS. So now we're asking that there be coordination between the ministry, parents, and head teachers. So we're going to take it out and give it now literally into your hands. But unfortunately, what this means is that things like bursaries, things like national health, then cannot be given to students who are not in NEMIS. So we see a quag between everything that should be happening and actually what is not happening. Just different directives that have been given over time, and everything leads back to money or the lack of it. And unfortunately, when we're looking at the basics like education, we shouldn't really be having this discussion now. In terms of a delay, that's all well and good. But when there's no answer, that's where I have a real issue. And I say, look, at the very least, tell us what is going on so that we know where we stand, we know what we're doing, we can understand. Do we need to stretch it over another month? Do we need to wait and say, well, let's do this and not do the other? When it comes to something like education, we've got to have clear answers. We've got to know really what is going on. Absolutely. We're not talking about pay increments. We're talking about running the vehicle in the first place. We're not trying to get to 120 kilometers per hour. We're trying to start the engine. And that's why I think we really need to now really deal with those. If we can't start the engine, we have a major problem.
One of the biggest, I think, budget items in our budget, annual budget, is the support for the education sector. It takes in a lot of money. And this is something that the government knows. It's one of the policies of government. It's one of the things that is in fact guaranteed in the Constitution. Every child has the right to get access to basic education. And therefore, that's why the government goes and plays its part in this. So the National Treasury mandarins already know. At the beginning of the financial year, they know this is what we need to do to support education. And we know the calendar years, the calendar days for the entire year for the education sector. Schools will open at this point. They'll close at this point. They need money by this time. So when the money is delayed and the disbursement is delayed, I'm taking it back to the Treasury. And that's why I'm saying, because these are the people who are managing all this, the disbursement of funds, the collection through KRA, and how much money goes to whatever other departments. They are the ones with the purse strings. They're the ones who are actually holding our purse together. If they have delays in releasing money, what is it saying about them? Is it that they consider it not important? No. Is it that they had not planned well enough in advance
they're just
for
as
this?
stressed as everybody else.
They're more stressed.
They're more stressed.
They should be stressed. That's what the job is all about.
In this
you
case where there's no money.
But do the job.
In this case where there's no money.
It's not that they don't know where the money has gone or where it should go. They do know. Now, I think part of the problem would be, what can we actually tell the citizenry? And how do we package it?
how much information can you really share about what is going on?
Because what
I don't think, City, we are at a point where we cannot afford to pay for education. It's not that we are there.
No,
we are not.
I even don't think that is exactly the case.
So we should not be getting to a point where we are saying, what can we tell the people?
But again, okay, when I said join the queue, let's start again. What are the pending bills that the government has? And tell me which pending bill the government has paid this year. Yes, let's start with that. Which one have they paid? We know that these loans that we have, these horrendous loans with horrendous... What if we just didn't pay? What on earth would happen?
Interest.
Forget the interest. We tell them even the interest we're not paying.
They take the country. They take
Kenya to economic jail.
Yes. What will they do? Approve the railway.
They approve the railway. Take over the port. Remember there was an issue whether the port is a collateral or not. And of course the president said the contract that you're referring to is not a contract that I'm aware of.
Let me tell you something. That's the president speaking, doing political speak. It doesn't matter. But even when it comes to the port, what are they going to do? Bring the Chinese army to take over the port?
And we sit back and watch?
Remember, I did point out that there's really no reason why we should even pay for this railway. Because the Chinese benefit as much as we do, if not more. This railway is connecting Kenya to other countries in this continent, or rather on the continent. And it opens a path for the Chinese to expand their trade routes, to expand their businesses. This is a partnership that we shouldn't be paying for. We've given them land to build the railway. They should be grateful. We should actually renegotiate these things, and we should begin by reneging on the payments and telling them we're not paying you. And then let's start talking again.
Let's send our children to school, then we can have that conversation.
Eric, why do you laugh?
Because it's not the first time that you're saying this, and I keep looking at you and thinking, what is this man on about? I think you should bring this up one day and give us in detail why we should not pay back.
My logic is a really simple one, and I told you that this is something that was shared by a friend of mine, and when I gave it thought, he went back to the Kenya-Uganda Railway. It was clear what the Kenya-Uganda Railway was for. Those were the times when people didn't sort of like lie about certain things. We never paid for that railway. It was built because somebody was building it to further their interest. This railway is not different. So the question I would ask is, are we really paying for this railway, or are we paying for something else? Because I don't think the Chinese don't understand the ramifications of the railway. And I also don't think the Chinese will understand the benefits they get from the railway.
Of course, they know exactly what it is.
What benefits are they getting from this particular railway? Today, tell me, what is it that China is doing with the railway?
The continent is opening up to them. Because with a railway of this nature, if it continues as they had planned, what it means is it'll connect to the other railways. And
because they're looking for a railway across Africa,
because of that railway, this is just one of the starting points. You need to look at the Tanzam Railway and what it was purposed to do. It didn't quite achieve it, but when it did, it did. Now, this is new vigor, new energy, new everything. It is a tool that one uses to further the economic interest because it enables you to actually further that economic interest.
If they were to use it exclusively as theirs, then maybe you can say
they can't use it exclusively.
They can't because you're in another country.
It is not possible to use it exclusively.
Exactly. And therefore it's a government project. So if it's a Kenyan project, we only came in to support you in doing the project. So you took the loan from us. We gave you the expertise.
That's doing business.
Yeah,
you borrowed the money.
It's business. Or it's
banks
not helping
call it
you.
support when they give you money.
You know,
we support businesses
I do
in this
understand,
country.
But our banks aren't part of a government. The banks in this country we speak of, by and large, tend to be also part of the government. The government has a serious interest in many of these banks. I am simply saying this. You ask me what I'm saying. I'm saying this. The problems that we seem to have, whether it's power, whether it's the railway, whether it's the airlines, we seem to have a problem that is contractual. Somewhere in our contracts, we sell the population, we sell the country. Somewhere along the line, something happens that guarantees that either that airways is never really going to make money because there's something in that contract, say fuel supply, or the way we organize the, the leasing agreement, the contracting. You come back to this one, again, you'll find it's contracting. Anything that seems to bother us, we have situations where nothing is done because of a contract we had, and yet if we do not continue, we don't pay, we stand to pay more money for something which was never done. Now, tell me, how bizarre is that? How bizarre is that?
Time for me to actually feed you the dose of your own medicine. So tell me, where else in the world in the 21st century is this happening? Where a country goes in and builds an infrastructural project and the host country is not paying for it?
In the 21st century?
Yes.
Nothing comes to mind readily. Nothing comes to mind readily.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. What is the point you're making?
The point I'm making is it's not the way things are done.
Oh, not the way things are done.
Yeah, it's not the way things are done.
I see. So
this railway
is it right or wrong, Eric?
It's Kenyan. It's morally right.
In this case. So what you also in the case where
okay,
another country comes and does something for someone else, and then
it's not doing something for you. You've borrowed the person.
You borrowed the money.
You've borrowed money from the Export-Import Bank.
Eric, it's not the borrowing.
You are paying the loan
Eric,
to the Export-Import Bank.
We've been borrowing money.
You have a company that is running this railway.
Not the borrowing,
it's running the operations of the railway. You're paying
contracting.
It's the contracting.
It's the details
the
of the contract that will kill us. It's not the borrowing. We borrow money all the time.
Look at Zambia.
Other countries borrow money all the time. Everybody borrows
Look
money.
at Zambia. The entire country is gone, basically. All their national assets finished to the same Chinese over the same contractual understanding, which clearly they didn't have a comprehension of, or they thought that they would be able to, make up for lost time when it came to payments. But I mean, look at them. Their copper reserves gone. Their airport, their national airport gone.
Because they did what City is telling us not to stop doing. Stop paying.
So essentially what we are saying is that what the country is looking in Kenya, what the country is looking for in terms of funding, that then would be very easy for them to do something like this, like pay fees for education.
They're not paying.
Let me bring you back to where you started the argument from. You're saying we have many competing interests.
We do.
Join the queue. The education ministry should join the queue.
Well, that's what I started off with, because it is the reality. And I said, tell me, of the obligations we have, financial obligations, which ones have we met this year?
And we have people scrambling looking for money. KRA is looking for money. NHIF is looking for money.
Yeah, all these things.
And it's not that we have not raised money. We are raising the money. Basically, KRA is raising revenue and sending the revenue to the government. And that's why you're saying, the other day you told us that the government is actually disbursing the money to pay the pending bills.
They have.
So those ones that's
they
happening.
have. But salaries, it isn't complete.
Salaries are being paid on time.
Are they being paid on time? Yes, they are.
Government salaries, yes.
Are agreements having been reached being met? No.
No.
The CBAs, implementation of new things in the CBA, no, they're not.
And I've said that dance we know, because salaries are being paid. My argument was fairly comprehensive. And I wasn't sort of like just kicking the government in the teeth because the teeth was available for kicking. I was saying, these are things they have done, and we know they're doing this. The question I was raising was, okay, here we have a situation of something which even the government knows is important. They know very well it's important. But somehow, there doesn't seem to be money. And I said, these delays are also normal. There's nothing unusual about the delay. I then raised a different issue, Eric. I said, let's talk about obligation. Let's talk about the railway. Why are we paying for this railway? Okay? Then you asked me, what are you saying? And I said, okay, let me enumerate it with clarity. Our problem isn't the loans. It is our contracting. What do we promise in these contracts? What do we say? And I gave the examples of Kenya Airways. And I gave examples of Kenya Power. And I said, it's in the contract. Someone is no longer producing power, but they still get paid.
And we're looking for money.
We have a situation that dates back to some programs that we got into, which formed some big scandal in this country, where when we now try to get money from the people that we contracted with, they're saying we're the ones who owe them money.
Yeah.
But they've done nothing. They've done absolutely
nothing.
But we still owe them money because we didn't pay a certain installment. Contracting. That's what I'm trying to say. The country is sold down the river through these contracts that people get into. Clearly, they benefit the people who get into them, but the country is definitely sold for cheap, dirt cheap.
Opening up the phone lines now, 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Some shed some light or make some reaction to this situation where the government has not yet disbursed funds to support education programs in the country. So primary schools opened last week, secondary schools are opening this week, and the issue is emerging that the government has not yet released the money that's supposed to go and support this under the free primary education and free education program. Also giving you some updates on the breaking news. 3 teachers were killed in a pre-dawn Al-Shabaab attack in Kamuthe, Garissa. The militants were apparently targeting communication masts and a police camp. So 3 teachers killed in that attack in Garissa. The Al-Shabaab were also targeting a communication mast and a police camp. It's 13 minutes to 9 o'clock.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Yeah, looking at definitely what's happening in the education sector this morning, and of course asking ourselves the question that really, how far gone are we? I think coming off of what CT said earlier, that, you know, we've been sold for dirt cheap in terms of agreements, and this actually could loosen up funds, because obviously when we see a situation like what we're being dealt currently in education and children going back to school, learners going back to school, some learners starting Form 1, and then of course the funds are not readily available, and the deafening silence that we see coming out of the Ministry of Education, it obviously sends jitters down your spine that something actually is wrong. And I'm saying that eyebrows should be raised just a little bit higher to really understand what exactly is going on here. For us to understand, to get a full picture of what is happening, whether it's coming from government spending or lack of spending in this case, then definitely some information needs to be given. And I think that the nature always has been to take things sitting down, right? To take it as it, look, there's no money, or there's a delay, it's going to come. Right, you know, it's going to come. Or, okay, it delayed last year, delayed before then, but we still made it happen, right? There's going to be a strike, but okay, we're going to sort it out. And that's what we're saying. Yeah, we'll deal with it when it comes along. But we don't understand the dwarfing capabilities of such sentiment on a government in terms of its development when you keep behaving like that. We scraped through by the skin of our teeth, but hey, we're okay. No,
We'll get by.
It shouldn't be the
What's
case.
the problem? We'll pay.
It shouldn't be the case. By the time you do that, the damage then that would have been done over the 1 month, for example, is something that is irreversible, unfortunately. And we should not be we cannot continue to be in a position of catch up. As a country, absolutely not. And when the basics cannot be met like this, and then when you're met with the silence with which we're being met now, there's cause for concern. There's cause for worry. And I actually do agree with Siti when he says, you know, in French, he says, prends un numéro. Take a number, because the queue is just getting longer, and you're going to join that line. Many more will join the line.
I like that French phrase. Repeat it again.
Prends un numéro.
Very good.
You see, so we're gonna get to the point where
especially the palm bit.
There you go.
So we'll get to the point where, you know, many people are on the queue, and unfortunately, that's what we see now. We can't. The raising of eyebrows now needs to manifest into opening.
But you see,
mouths.
why should we be picking a numero? Why should we be doing this, especially when we have planning? That's the reason why we have planning.
This is the thing that actually shocks me into silence sometimes.
Some
that
of
you're
these
able
things
to
are not
plan,
emergencies.
You're able
That's
to
why
plan.
the question was asked.
That's where it comes
last
from.
year, the government did make a decision, and they publicized it, saying that they were going to look at ministries. They're going to shift monies within ministries. Now, you know, I think you do need to go to parliament for that sort of thing. You just can't sort of like say, let it pass. Now, one, because government ministries are known to return monies at the end of every financial year. Okay? So if they're going to take money from certain ministries, makes perfect sense, move it around to where it's most needed. Now, when the last time this happened was when somebody called Simin Nyachai was actually Minister for Finance. And the next statement that followed after some of these things that done, he said, probably, I need to tell you guys, but actually we are broke.
But you see, the good thing about that is that at least you know where we stand. We know this is where we are.
It cost him that job, that docket, by the way. It did, but he said it. Maybe it's time that this gentleman who is our acting Minister for Finance, it's about time He's been there long enough to have done the arithmetic to know what's what. It's about time they actually told us, guys, we are actually broke. And what this means is A, B, C, D. So this belt tightening that we're talking about, this is what it means. Okay, all government employees traveling the coast will go by train. All. Okay, we have first class, we have second class, and then we have 1NG class.
We will not buy flowers in ministry offices anymore.
Flowers.
I've already said that.
Yeah, but they still buy flowers.
Still buy.
Even this issue of
we'll
traveling.
not buy flowers for that area, but the minister office here.
Yes. And then we will also not do this, but there's a banquet for this. And look, the government spending hasn't gone down. It's just a statement that is made from time to time to tell the public that something is being done. Nothing is done. No, not something little is done. Nothing is done. Nothing significant is done. But even then, ask yourself, this government spending, if we look at it on what we call the non-essentials, what does it amount to? Is it enough to actually interfere with what we do on a daily basis? The answer is no. No. This is money that is budgeted for. If you want to...
When money runs into billions, CT, you cannot say no. The answer is
government
no,
spending on non-essentials does not run into billions.
It does run into billions. That's why we're talking about it the other day.
No,
how much was it that they
Eric, I am talking of tens of billions.
Okay.
Yes, please. We...
Okay.
Yes.
So.
Okay. We in agreement there?
Close to hundreds?
No, 100, no. It doesn't quite get there. There's a reason why I'm saying this. If you look at our national budget, it is what? How many trillions?
3.
Precisely. So, education, 10%. God knows this percent. God knows. These budgets runs into the billions, hundreds of billions, and they're meant for a year. My argument is not that the government shouldn't spend or should not spend. No, that's not what I'm saying.
By all means, spend. Yeah.
I am saying that if you look carefully at the items that actually cost us huge dollops of money, this would not be it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not that it isn't a lot of money. I'm saying there are other areas where we hemorrhage seriously. We really hemorrhage. And that's where the real wastage is. Now, we keep talking about, for instance, let's take a look, for instance, what do you think our budget for education is on a yearly basis? How many billions?
It's quite high.
To find out. Yeah.
Take a look and tell me what our budget for education is. When we've looked at our budget for education, I want us to consider something else. Look at the hoo-ha that we've been creating about, say, the SGR, and tell me how the two relate. And I will say this. You may find that what we budget for education far outstrips on a yearly basis. Remember, the SGR budget, it was just that one. And we're just paying for it, isn't it? Huh?
Yep.
But if you look at the recurrent budgeting for education on a yearly basis, it is a tremendous amount. Now, that amount is far more than what we are saying we have spent on the SGR. The point I'm making is our education should actually not be interfered with if we were to go by what we've budgeted.
Right.
But the reason why
one of those that get high priority.
The reason why we bring in SGR, we're overspending, we're doing this, is when something that's supposed to work and is budgeted for doesn't work. That's where the problem arises. We start saying, okay, so if this isn't working, then why are we? The why comes in. Why then has this money been spent on this, and why
spotlight is shown on the other areas?
Yes, exactly. And yet, if the money was budgeted for and the money is raised, remember the borrowing comes in to fill in the shortfalls of what we've collected and what we need to, in terms of money we need to spend, isn't it?
Right.
And we have borrowed for this. So if we have borrowed, it means we have money to spend on the things we have planned for. Is that not so?
True.
Right.
So where's the money?
So we're looking at 208.9 billion shillings for the 2019-2020 budget that would go to the education sector.
All I'm saying is, where has the money gone?
Because it was budgeted for.
And we raised the money. We had the money. The shortfall was borrowed.
And all of these factors were taken into consideration.
So where is the money?
All of
so
these
that the
were
money
taken
has gone. I think it's just the issue of planning. So you have money, but then you've paid for something that you should not have paid for at this point.
So it has gone.
At this particular point.
Eric, all these things are planned for. Eric, all these things are planned for.
They're all planned for. It's just what I'm talking about, prioritization of a budget. So at the beginning of the term, of the school term, what is the most important thing that's going to be happening in January? This happens even in households. In January, I'm going to be paying school fees, plus all the other things. Even in December, as you're spending, you already know January is coming, and I have school fees to pay, I have house rent to pay, and I've got all these other needs to But what is the most important? School fees, of course, goes up. So by the end of February, school fees is not as high as it was in January. So it's about just prioritization and how can you get to a point in January and people are going back to school and you're saying, all right, so we have not yet filled that kitty. Let's collect a bit more and then I'll be able to send it by the 21st of the month or the 20th of the month or maybe the beginning of February.
Eric, the delay isn't even the problem here. We understand these delays. They've been understood. It won't be the first time, for instance, that if you're told salaries have delayed, it won't be the first time. Within the county governments...
And that's what Ndu is saying. This kind of attitude where we say, well, just wait, money will come.
No, it can't.
It
has a crippling effect on our development.
I'm actually using I'm using that to explain something. I am saying that there are things we've gotten accustomed to. It's not that we should have, but we have. So the delay isn't even the issue. Why this discussion to me is red hot is because there seems to be no response.
There's no response. There's silence.
So what exactly are we supposed to read into it? And that's why I make if there had been a response, I would have said, okay, let's wait and see.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been discussing this because the response would have been that, okay, give us a couple of weeks, we're sorting things out, you're going to get the money. But when you're met with silence, deafening silence at that, hey, there's something to be worried about.
She's not getting worried about all
And it's
that.
not alarm bells just being rung in fear, but it's actually alarm bells being rung in the fact, or rather coming off the backdrop of the fact that, look, the government has said before that, okay, we have to tighten our belt a little bit here and there. And then here we are, children are going to school, silence.
And the queue that I speak of is also a cause for worry because it highlights one particular problem. And the particular problem is this. This isn't the only debt.
It's not the only item that needs to be funded.
No, that's the thing. Say, oh, okay.
How is that for making things better or worse?
Yes.
Starting out with how we're looking at it right now to say, hey, folks, if you think this is bad, please understand exactly. Prends le numéro because there's more to come. You like that, CT?
I like that very much. One of the things that many companies, businesses that do business, say for instance DRC, have done over the years, some have even built railways, railway lines right from South Africa to DRC. This SGR actually it's supposed to end at DRC. Please understand. Now, when you mention DRC, I don't need to tell anyone what DRC represents in terms of the wealth of resources that are available. Do you imagine that those resources are going to be used in Kenya alone? No. It is a bigger interest. That's the point I'm trying to make. When any country finances an economic endeavor like that, it's for a reason that benefits them.
Okay. The conversation continues on our social media platforms, Spice FM KE, Facebook, at Spice FM KE on Twitter, and our hashtag is The Situation Room. You can also tag us our individual Twitter handles at CT Muga, at Nduoko, or at Eric Latif. It's coming up to 9 o'clock. Let's continue with this conversation on our social media platforms. First, let's take a look at what's happening on the roads. It's been a very wet morning today in Nairobi. Good morning.
Spice up your life.
All right, so all major roads leading to Westlands, you have a major problem today from James Gishuru to the Muthangari area and then coming down out through Wayaki Way. It is a total mess. What an absolute gridlock, and it's not moving. Maybe about an inch every 30 minutes is what we're looking at right now. And this is because two lorries or two trailers have collided, and that means that nobody's moving for a while. All right, of course, we still have the developing situation in Sunton and Mwiki, and that means that nobody's moving because, of course, the protests are taking place in terms of the state of the roads. Thika Road, it's traffic all the way from Garden City all the way down into the city centre. Kiambu Road, of course, trying to join with Thika Road. There we're going to have some problems as well. It's moving in Outer Ring between Dandora and Donholm, so that's not much of a problem. Jogo Road is giving us some good vibes today, trying to get to the roundabout and then into the city centre. Apart from that, we have gridlock on Langata Road as well as on Ngong Road. This is due to the showers. Take it easy, folks. You'll get there eventually. Tweet us, SpiceFMKE. Call us, 0719-012-600. Let's make Monday morning a little bit less blue.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We broadcast from Nairobi on 94.4. We are in Malindi, 97.7. We are in Nyeri on 90.9. Eldoret, 96.7. If you're in Nakuru, you're catching us on 96.0. If you travel to Kisumu, you'll find us on 102.5. And for the people of Mombasa County, you are on 87.9. Stay tuned, because now we are talking about your county, C.T. Muga.
The gateway to East Africa. That's what the coast of Mombasa and Mombasa town specifically were known as the gateway. And when the building of the Kenya-Uganda Railway began, it actually began in Mombasa. Now, the significance of Mombasa is well documented. It is well known as a trading post and one of the foremost centers of development and culture for the longest time possible. Let's fast forward this to the 20th century, the later part of the 20th century, and let us introduce something called the BBI. You may wonder, what has the BBI got to do with Mombasa? Well, let's take it further back. Let's talk about the promulgation of the Constitution. Because in the absence of this promulgation of the Constitution, this discussion actually wouldn't be taking place, because without that, there would be no county, and without counties, there'd be no governor. It is of interest and of note that when these positions were set up by the Constitution and people vied for them, there was a lack of clarity. People rushed to be senators. I think they thought those jobs would actually hold more sway, more clout. With the passage of time, it became clear that county governments were actually governments and governors were actually mini presidents of these particular establishments. What followed thereafter was a hue and cry as to how the funds of these various constituencies that are called counties were managed. And with the last election, very many governors lost their seat. A few regained their seats. But the one thing that has never been clear is, what is the benchmark? Yes, we know what a governor is supposed to do. We know they have ministries. We know they have a development agenda. Almost similar to the national government, but what exactly are governors expected to do? There was the question of what level of education should they have, and should this play a part? Even if you consider all these things, I would argue that I would place governors in two categories. Those who not only understand their job, but have the capacity to actually fulfill the mandate of governorship. And then there are those who actually don't. It doesn't matter how much we shout. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter what assistance they're given. It is unlikely that they will fulfill the mandate that will ensure that the people of their counties actually receive whatever developmental, whatever health assistance, whatever it is that a county is supposed to deliver to its people. How then do you resolve such a problem? We train APs. In the times gone by, we trained DOs. The president actually enters a school the moment he becomes president. On a daily basis, it's a learning process. This governorship was new. They haven't been trained. Many of them have no clue what they're actually even supposed to do. Let's train our governors. Let's make sure they understand what they're supposed to do so that they have no excuse when it comes to delivering the mandate that they've been voted and elected to do.
Train them in what? Train them
governance.
How? Train them where?
Train them in governance. Train them in government procedures. Train them in understanding how it is you are able to fulfill the mandate. If you take someone from being MP straight to governor, an MP's functions, even with the CDF, is at best a part-time job. A governorship is a full-time job. There's no part-time about it.
We haven't trained our 4 presidents, have we?
Oh, yes, we have.
How?
The job itself comes with training, and I'm going to explain what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
When you become the president of a country, you have a civil service. There's no president who has never come with a civil service that actually know how to run the country. The president doesn't run the country, by the way. It's the civil service that runs the country. And that's why they're supposed to be called permanent in a sense. And that's why you even have the title of permanent secretaries. They're supposed to be the head of that particular department of government or ministry. And they are intended to actually run, not help run those particular ministries. Now, it doesn't matter which president you are, you find these people in place. You don't need to bring your own. You can change them if you like, but you find them in place.
So the system is there.
It's there.
And the system supports the person who comes in as
yes,
as chief
and they will
executive.
educate you. They will tell you, they know. They will tell you this one. Why do you think you have people who are in charge of protocol and stuff like that, if everyone knew what they're supposed to do? Because they know there are things you want to know. So they tell you. Why do you think, for instance, presidents have these sessions where they are briefed by the cabinet? Why do you think they have meetings? All these things are to educate them. The briefing. You're being educated. You're being told, by the way, this is where we are. This is what we're doing. Baba, here's your speech. So when you make the speech, it's from an informed position. They're trained. From day one, you are constantly being trained. You're constantly being informed. And it is set.
The system and the bureaucracy that's at the national level is replicated at the county level.
Oh, no, it isn't. No, it isn't.
What's not new?
What is replicated are personnel. The system is replicated on paper. But the ethos and the wherewithal that goes with the system, zero. Because many of these people started from scratch, and the first time they seem to have just been fumbling around trying to figure out what to do.
Many of them were absorbed from the previous government. Many of them.
They were absorbed
that's
from the municipalities.
From the local government.
Yes,
right?
the local authority.
Yes, from the local government. The local authority, yes, some of them were working at that local level, but they were national government.
Ministry of Local Authority.
Yes, they were national government.
Local authority.
They were national government people.
Yes,
so they knew how the system works. So when you have a new governor coming in, the new governor actually comes in and finds a system that works. So this is how the civil servants in those counties are working. Now, of course, we've had an issue of extending or expanding the capacity by hiring new people, but it's there.
Well, in terms of efficiency and making sure that you're driving this machine optimally, I would agree that in terms of being trained in governance and being trained in how things should actually run for efficiency, I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And now I think that there are also examples from individuals that can be taken and be replicated across board. But in many cases, I think that a lot lies in terms of burden on the shoulders of those who come into governorship, for example, and are not really sure what to do. And of course, they're in a position where they're not going to say that they don't know, because of course the power, the position wields some kind of power.
I need to explain something to Eric. The municipalities had a town clerk as the head. Full stop. Town clerk, boss. You're the mayor, political. You're in assembly, political. Town clerk, his people ran this. Town. That's what it was.
The town clerk was reporting to who?
The town clerk, you want to tell me, I know you want to say he reported to the mayor. Didn't. Consulted with the mayor, really.
Yes, but was reporting to the PS, the one you're talking about at the national level.
Yes.
That was a system. The same system is what it was running all the way down.
I think
so the town clerk, there you go. The town clerk was actually reporting to the senior officers, the senior officers in the Ministry of Local Authorities. So they knew they were working the system. So some of them were retained, some of them were brought in from
capacity?
Some of them were brought in from the national level when we had the entire transition. From transition to county governments, some of the officers in national government were actually taken and seconded to the county governments. They were taken and seconded there. So when you say that governors need to be trained, I'm sitting there wondering, if we don't training a president, if a president comes in and the president understands what he needs to do.
Did you listen to my intro?
I did. What did I miss?
The president is trained on a daily basis.
The same thing happens with the governor on a daily basis.
It doesn't.
On a daily basis.
This is what I'm trying to explain
and
to you.
And the transition authority did a lot of work in actually bringing the new officers to par with what is required. They went through training on how to come with plans.
How then do you explain the mess that represents the counties? Explain it to me.
When it comes to competence,
and it's across board. It's across board. So are we saying that replicated in at least 40 counties, we have a mess at a gubernatorial level Honestly, can we then say that it is because it's not for lack of training that we have the mess that we do? Or really for understanding how you're going to run a well-oiled unit and a well-functioning unit as a governor, that you don't really know what is that should be?
What kind of training are you talking about?
Let me bring this thing to the current discussion that I actually want to have. Governor Sonko was blamed for two things. It was said that he did away with some CECs, the ministers didn't replace them, but that wasn't really a big issue. The big issue, still there were some CECs, he didn't have a deputy. That was the big issue. For the longest time, he didn't have a deputy. Now, we have a situation in Mombasa where the governor has a deputy, CECs,
none.
Service board,
0.
Now, and you're telling me that this is a person who actually understands what he's supposed to do.
Yes.
Oh, and you do it without your ministers and without a service board.
This is somebody who has appointed a cabinet before, right? When he came in the first time, remember this is a second time. This is a second term governor.
I'm not talking about first time or second time.
This is a second term governor.
I'm talking about the term that we are in and the current situation that we are in.
And the current situation. It's not for lack of knowing the importance of them. You can look at it for political expediency. You can look at it for many other reasons. It's not because this man lacks the knowledge.
So why wouldn't you then appoint people or renew contracts for people to do their job that will essentially run their county?
Why do you wait for the 2 months to lapse when you now know you can't renew it without going to the assembly?
To the assembly.
And you claim that you're knowledgeable.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not because he does not know. He is the one who appointed them in the first place. Why did he appoint them in the first place? This is not the first time. And like I'm saying, this is a second-term governor.
You asked
the
me a
first
question
time he came in 2013. In 2013, he appointed a government, right? In 2013, he appointed the first county public service board. The first county public service board. That public service board ran out its contract after 7 years. 2018, they were finished with their work. So last year, their tenure expired. We have some members that have remained. We have some members that need to be appointed. He knows this. He appointed the first time. He knows this. He has been knowing that their term is coming to an end. He knows the work that they do. He knows what they have done in the 7 years that they were in office, the 6 years that they were in office, the county public service board.
It is I who
he
should be
also
blamed.
knows the
CECs. It is I who should be blamed, Derek. I wasn't
and the work
clear.
that they were doing.
Knowledge in this particular instance doesn't just refer to factual knowledge. No. Not really. But the import of what your office is and what certain things mean. Because if, for instance, you have a governor who thinks they don't need a deputy, there's something they clearly don't understand the import of the Constitution and why it created that post and why it was imperative that that post should be there. If you have a governor who then a contract expires as they do, doesn't renew it. And by the way, it's not just that. Even the inspectorate have 350 employees whose contracts run out, and that same problem that the CECs are facing.
Because there's no board, there's no one to extend their contract.
Yes, now you're getting to my point. There's the import of certain actions that people take that points in a certain direction. Yes, he may have factual knowledge of what he should do, but why is it that other counties don't have this problem?
Other counties, some counties do have this problem.
Eric, please.
No.
Stop stepping on your own tail.
Some counties.
Why is it that some counties...
In Kiambu, for example, the County Public Service Board is not functioning. Why? It lacks quorum. Why? Because members of the County Public Service Board, many of them, their tenure expired. Now, what happens? There's a governor that's supposed to appoint them. The governor is not in office. One of the reasons why we have issues in Kiambu is that County Public Service Board not working.
The governor of Mombasa
some workers
is in
not
office.
having contract.
He's in office.
He's in office.
Governor is not.
Yes. So you've given us the reason very clearly yourself and why there's that muddle. My question was,
I'm bringing it back to politics.
Why is it?
There's a political reason
why
that Governor Joho is doing this. The same way there was a political reason why Governor Sonko was not appointing.
Tell me, why do you think
I don't know what
this?
the political reason would be.
Then how do you call it political if you don't know why it is?
The same way we look at it and see, there must have been a political reason why Governor Sonko kept playing around with the position of deputy governor, or even suspending some of his CECs and not replacing them. And
those were suspended because of the wall that collapsed at the Precious Talent School, we understood.
There are reasons. They were suspended because of that. Others were suspended because they went against him with the Pumwani issue. Others were various factors.
And many who were suspended were replaced.
The county chief officer was suspended because of that issue of the Pumwani. Whatever. And it looked at it from our point of, it's because of some political reasons.
Do you know why there are civil servants attached to every ministry? is because, and they rarely move around really unless they get to a certain high level. The mid-level management tend to stay there. Why? They're the experts. If you look at even their training, their understanding, not just the academic understanding, but how government works, they know. And they will tell you, this happens this way. And I'm saying there was a vacuum when governors came in. You may talk about the issue of the local authority officials being moved in. They were. But many other people who'd never worked in any government setup also came in, and they came in positions of authorities, like what we call chief officers and even ministers. Some came from the NGO world, some came from God knows where. Many of these people had no clue how the government actually works. Zero clue.
They were taken through training.
You know this?
Yes, for a fact.
What sort of training was this?
They were taken through training. It's a Council of Governors organized
and
trainings.
For how long?
There are those that went to the Kenya School of Government. They have actually done courses at the Kenya School of Government, especially chief officers and senior department heads.
Kenya School of Government offers very many courses, right, from certificate level onwards. So I'm asking, what sort of training were they taken to? Simple question.
What sort of training in terms of how long the training took?
How long was it? What sort of training? What specific training was there?
I don't know, but it's about understanding government.
The individuals who work in government were not only taken for training, but they have been in this thing. I'm juxtaposing. I'm explaining that with a national government, you have people who didn't go for training yesterday to the National School of Government. No. They have been trained in that school, but they have upgraded their understanding, but they know how it works. And I'm saying that two categories. Either you have the ability to understand and to pick up what it is that you need to do, or you simply don't have that capacity.
The conversation continues. This is Spice FM, Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Good morning. It's 18 minutes past 9 o'clock.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So break it down, City. You're saying that when you have a governor who is in office and has overseen the contract for his cabinet running out, has overseen the contract of his cabinet and not appointed a new one over more than 4 months down the road,
they can see it.
It shows that this person lacks understanding and knowledge of government.
There is a gap. There is a gap of understanding. There's something that this person doesn't quite get. It's called the import of what it is that his office entails. You have 350 inspectorate officers who are in the same boat as these CECs. Now, even if it was just one, the question you would ask is, you are in office. Everything that is required to ensure that these things are there can and should be done. There's nothing that prevents you. You're not out of office. So when you don't do them, a question has to come into being. Why do I start by talking about Mombasa and its history? Mombasa should be by far the second most significant city in this particular country, and it should be known for the wonderful things. That isn't the case. What we now know it for, people who went on the streets to complain about the SGR edict that put many transporters out of work,
business,
and an entire industry who was set in limbo as a result of that. Now, tell me, I'm certain that the governor must have put up a fight and said, this ought not to happen, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. He may have. The politicians in the region may have. Didn't stop anything, did it? The situation is still exactly as it is. And even if they keep going to the streets to protest, nothing has changed. But that wasn't my discussion. I'm simply saying this. The position of governor is probably the second most important position anybody can hold in this country. Not even the deputy president. Because then they don't deputize. They are in charge of a region. They're in charge. Now, PwC, together with other bodies like UNCTAD, did a research some years ago during the first tenure of our governors, and they came up with economic blocks. And yes, they did. They came up with economic blocks. There are people who say there are 6 of them that people speak of. And why this is so is that they realize that for regions to be economically viable, you needed more than just 2 counties to sort of like relate. For instance, you have the Lake Region Economic Forum or Blueprint. They keep meeting. Even right now, they're planning to meet in Siaya. It had 13 members. All right? That may have been reduced, it may change time, but it began with 13. The Mount Kenya region had 9. The Coast region had another. This one they called Jumia ya County Zapwani. Now, Mombasa County went even further. They even had a strategic plan. I think they were assisted by JICA, the Japanese International Cooperation Agency. Okay? Beautiful when you think of it. And it's not now. This goes into 20 years and beyond, what they should do and all. Now, such a plan is what governors are supposed to do. And the county actually has one. I'd be hard-pressed to mention one thing that has been put in. One. I'd be hard-pressed. So, you tend to think, so was this for window dressing or was it for political purposes to appear that you understand? Now, when I say lack of understanding, and if you're a politician and you know the economic blocks, you would reason that there's a likelihood that there'll be leadership for these blocks coming up. So if our governor, I might be gunning for one of these regional block representatives. Now, if you have difficulties running your own county, just management. I'm not talking about garbage collection. I'm not talking about supply of water.
Just running.
Just appointment.
Yours. It's your docket. It's something that only you can actually set up. If you're having difficulties, or it's proving that you have difficulties, then one must question your ability seriously.
And understanding, because here we're talking about just basically getting the thing running, getting the thing moving, because obviously those individuals are there for a purpose. Those positions rather were created for something significant to be done. Now, if they're not individuals in those positions who can only be appointed by you, something is not being done. There's a disconnect, and then for you not to see the urgency of that, for me, is even a little bit more worrying.
Even if there are political reasons, you're short-sighted. I mean, what do you think you are doing? Because there's a larger picture beyond being governor. Because after governor, there is something else. The governor of Mombasa is a young man, by any standard. He is not an old man. And politicians, when they get a taste of it, will want something bigger. Now, this thing which is bigger that you will want. What are these things?
What exactly is it?
What are they going to use to judge you on your past in order to give you that position in the future?
As you vie for it.
They're going to look at that. We talked about examples of this before. Look at, for example, you want to be able to excel at the micro in order for you to give us a position, for us to give you a position on the macro. Look at oftentimes in the US, when somebody's standing for public office, what do? They go down to the nitty-gritty of their lives and find out how were they able to manage at that point. So for me, it would be silly for you not to expend your duties at an administrative level at that point. Then it shows that you really don't know what's going on, or you really don't know what it's about. For you to say, look, here are positions that need to be filled, and these positions are directly involved or directly relating to the efficiency of
the functioning of this particular county.
So let's ask this question.
If these positions are not filled, something is not being done, and the buck stops with you.
All right, so let's ask that question. Now that these positions haven't been filled for the last, is it 6 months?
Since November.
Things are not running in Mombasa.
So
no, they're running.
I know that's the question he was going to ask.
Is the county government of Mombasa running? Is it working?
It starts and fits. Because what you've done is you've given the chief officers acting.
So the PSs, who are the engine, the chief officer of that particular department, they are running.
No, they have the acting capacity. Eric, you know very well in government what acting means. You're not substantive.
The chief officers?
They are the ones who are acting.
But they're not
so the chief officers are acting as the ministers.
They're acting.
But then they are the ones who are their chief officers. In their chief officer position, they are not acting. So they're the ones who are running affairs of that particular department. If you're the chief officer for infrastructure, you basically are the accounting officer for that department, right? So if you need to answer directly to the governor, you're answering directly to the governor, and the governor is giving policy direction.
Eric,
because the county executive committee is basically offering that policy guideline and saying this is what we've sat and decided as a cabinet, and this is the direction we shall take as a county. The same questions we've been asking about Nairobi. Now that Nairobi has few CECs, short of the 10, now that Nairobi does not even have a deputy governor, has it been functioning or not? And we've been saying, well, Nairobi is functioning. So now the same question, is Mombasa functioning or not? Mombasa is functioning. Now,
we should be asking that you brought in a new discussion, which wasn't my point exactly.
Which one?
I wasn't talking about the functionability of the county. that can be a different discussion. Then I would ask, how well is it really functioning? Let's ask the question then, since you brought it in. How well is Mombasa County functioning?
It's functioning as it should.
No, it isn't. Mombasa County has more problems than you can imagine. The one thing that Mombasa County has done well, and the governor should be praised for, the hospital, that referral county hospital, especially the maternity wing, wonderful things have happened there, and people could benchmark with it. Full stop.
Oh, that's what I was waiting for. The list.
Buildings were painted white.
There's no list.
They could have been painted blue.
They're actually painted white and blue.
Yes, so did it
aesthetics
did
of the
it
city?
fail?
It looks
No.
good.
Did it fail? Did it fail the potholes? No. Did it provide water?
Garbage
regularly?
collection.
No.
Garbage collection within very many parts of Nairobi County, of Mombasa County, happening well. Relocation of the dumping site in Mombasa. Has it happened? Yes, it has happened. Has it happened well?
Oh,
it has happened.
Well, give me an update, Eric. How well is that working?
But it has happened. It has moved.
Eric,
and there is a rehabilitation of the former site.
There is a dump site movement that has happened in Kisumu under the same sort of auspices, and the argument is, well, it has moved.
And that's what we needed, so okay.
Yes, the dump site that previously existed is still filling to capacity, and yet you have a new dump site. So, that wasn't my discussion.
Your discussion was on
my discussion was
a governor understanding
how it is
the import of their office.
Yes, because there are other counties to compare with. There are counties who also have governors like this one, where you find the people we're speaking about are in employment. The services that you speak of, there's a coherence to what they will tell you is happening. You'll be told, this is happening, this is happening. This one, we are picking, of the many things that could be happening, we are picking 2 or 3.
We're picking things that could be happening.
The county doesn't have 2 or 3 functions.
By the way, I'm not even holding brief for the governor of Mombasa, right? But I'm looking at it from this point. I'm looking at it from the angle of this particular county executive committee has run out of its tenure, it has expired, and the governor has not told them whether he's renewing or whether he's appointing new people, right? But this
He
is
actually
not...
doesn't have to tell them.
He just needs to appoint.
It's his job. If he appoints
Right.
within the 2 months from the time they expire, he doesn't need to go to the assembly. But he has waited. Now he has to go to the assembly.
Now he
can't
must.
appoint.
Yes. So he'll create...
So I'm asking, someone who's politically savvy, why do you get into this mix?
That's the question we should be asking ourselves. Why exactly is he doing this? Because
you
look,
can have that as your topic tomorrow.
This governor, when he came to office in 2013, he was quick to appoint his cabinet. And in fact, his cabinet, and he even...
Everybody who was governor at that
He even
time
published the qualifications and the credentials of his first cabinet. It was clear. These are the people who have picked. Within a short time, Governor Joho had reshuffled his cabinet. There were people who were... Somebody who was in finance was moved to health or vice versa. Within the second government now, he appointed some he retained from the previous government. He appointed new ones quickly, without any delays. The county public service board he appointed
every
in good
governor
time,
did,
just like every governor did.
Everyone wanted that.
Right.
Getting into new
And
positions.
now this particular time,
it would
we
be
are
a
talking
discussion.
about it because this particular governor has not reappointed or appointed a new cabinet. And we are talking about since November to December, 1 month, about 2.5 months or 2 months.
It's expired, gone.
Right?
That story is gone.
So 2 months have lapsed since the tenure of the previous
so now he has to go to
county
the assembly.
executive committee. Now he has to go to the assembly.
Yes.
And nobody has said he's not going to the assembly. What's the issue really
The
here?
issue here, Eric, is this. Even this garbage collection that you speak of, it was taken out of town. It was brought back to town. It's now in a place called VOK, which is just outside town. So it is complete shambles. Just to mention it slightly, you seem to want to support activities that took place in the past and they are not current. Painting houses, what on earth has that got to do with development? What has that got to do with the things, the services that the population of a county want?
That's the argument that people keep. Why should we paint houses? Are you saying it's not important to paint them? It is important to paint them. Are you saying it's not
potholes
important to
aren't being sorted
in
out?
the light that
If
there
there
is
isn't enough water for the
dilapidation
citizens,
around.
please stop painting
this
the houses.
argument of saying that you cannot, if you cannot, do one because you have not done the other. No, you do things that you can do.
Have you ever heard of any other county?
So you give it a facelift when
It's
the
the same thing that
internal
people
structure
complain
is
about
crumbling.
here. They're telling
Yes,
us that
exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the same thing
you
that people
put
say.
some-
Why
put
does
some
Machakos
makeup on a skin cancer.
have a public park and yet the roads are not working in Syokimau? Well, that's one and that's the other.
Eric,
it doesn't mean that until we make all the roads in Syokimau, we should never
that's why you're
put
in the
flowers
media
on the
and
road.
not in politics. If you're a politician and you understand what people consider important, you would understand this argument. People don't consider the painting of houses important. Believe me, they do not.
And that's why
not if they don't have water,
that's why the people
not
are
if
really
garbage
speaking,
isn't being collected properly.
That's why they were speaking highly of the government and what it has done in Mombasa.
Which people were these who were speaking highly?
The residents of Mombasa.
Which residents?
The ones that I spoke to. 9:30. Good morning. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads, and then we continue the conversation. And we'll open up the phone lines as well. 0719 012 600. Good morning.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Things developing. Wayaki Way is at an absolute standstill. Cars moving at snail's paces. Traffic starts all the way at Kangemi, and that is going down all the way to Westlands Roundabout. Kasarani Mwiki Road, we know that there's a problem today. And the residents have said enough is enough, and so they're not letting anybody in or out, and that is affecting traffic definitely. Just at the bridge on Thika Road, traffic going into the city centre is at a snail's pace. At 9:30, it's actually quite a different day. The heavy rains on the road don't make it any easier. All right, let's look at what's happening around Langata Road and also Ngong Road, all the way from the junction down to the City Mortuary roundabout. Langata connecting with Mbagathi Way. Again, everything meets at the roundabout, and that is terrible for traffic this morning, all because of the heavy rains. Mombasa Road, again, is giving us some serious bumper-to-bumper traffic, not moving as fast as we would like it to. And so that's the situation for now. So long as the rains continue, this is what we're going to see. Spice FM KE, shoot us a tweet or give us a call if you find an alternate route. Otherwise, for now, folks, you're going to have to sit tight.
96.1 Spice FM. Kisi. The 80s have never sounded so good.
My favorite songs of the 1980s.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Eric, you speak of painting. Painting isn't expensive, by the way. Especially you use the water paints that seem to be those houses. And if you were to look at the facts, it's owners of buildings who actually pay for the paint, not the county government.
Yes.
So,
it is.
Yes. So what has the county done?
It's an edict by the county and ensuring that you send all your inspectors to ensure that all buildings are painted. And if you're not painted, we're not going to renew your license.
Let me shift these gears a little bit, all right? One of the things that the governor of Mombasa has been blamed over is something called a conflict of interest. That he himself has businesses that does business with the county of Mombasa. Whether this is true or not, I actually don't know. And I cannot ascertain. But what I do know is this. This isn't the smoke and fire scenario. This is smoke and smoke scenario. Okay? He was a businessman before he got into politics. Continued in politics, has still in business. Family business.
Yeah.
Now, we all know that the biggest business partner you can ever have is always a government. So, since it isn't against the law in this country to actually do business, even if you're in public office, it isn't against the law, by the way. Why would he not go into business with a county, even if it's a government? And even if it really smells like a conflict of interest, but one could argue it isn't illegal. Now, this again wouldn't matter if it wasn't to the detriment of the people he's supposed to actually look after or support. It would really be a non-issue, but it is an issue. It's the same issue raised at the national level. It's the same issue that is facing the county government, the county of Nairobi governor. His procurement.
And Kiambu as well.
Yes.
I think the issue is the procedure.
That's how it's termed.
If there's undue procedure, for example, in getting
then
that tender,
then illegality comes in.
Yes. The cars.
Yes. So all I'm saying is this. Remember, I'm arguing there's the issue of the import. Understanding that if you are in the game of politics, that you you don't only need the neck of a giraffe, but you also need the neck of a giraffe that's standing on a stool or a table, because if you want to stay in politics, you really need to make noises, make decisions, do things that guarantee that people feel this person looks after our interest. And just like you spoke to people, but Eric, I have to commend you. It is always good you carry people from Nairobi who prime, get to Mombasa, then tell them, now make that statement while you're in Mombasa. Say, when I was in Mombasa, these people told me. All right. Well, I also did something similar.
It is possible,
I followed in your footsteps.
I know people who live and vote in Mombasa.
Yes, it is possible, especially if you import them from Nairobi. It works very well.
It's possible. Right.
The possibility exists, but even I followed in your footsteps.
And you spoke to your people.
No, not my people. People who live and vote in Mombasa, just like the ones you spoke to and gave you that
Where
response.
did you import those ones from? Somewhere in Kilifi and Kwale?
No. I didn't need to. I found them there. Yes.
So what did yours tell you?
What mine told me is that their county isn't being run well.
Yep.
And I asked what the problem was, and they said the problem, as far as they were concerned, was the governor. I said, why? Those of us who are not in the county seem to feel that the governor is doing a very good job. And they said, no, he is not doing a good job. And I said, could you be specific? And they said, well, let's start with the most basic. One of the things they mentioned was garbage collection. I said, yeah, that one we have an idea about. Then he said, something as simple as just basic services. I said, what do you mean, basic services? And they moved from roads. The list was endless. I said, you guys, a list this long means you're simply just complaining. I don't think there's any justification for what you're saying. And I left the discussion there. But the point I'm making is, if someone is in a political office, what people say about you should have some importance. It shouldn't carry the day, because people will always complain, but it should have some importance. It's something that one must pay heed to. And it can't be that certain people have something to say and it's utter nonsense. I couldn't pick out exactly, because when someone says too many things, you can't actually pick up what exactly are they saying. What was sure is that they were unhappy.
There are some people who are unhappy, and there are some people who are happy, and there are people who are non-committal. They're just nonchalant. They don't, whatever happens is happening in Mombasa. It's okay. It's not different from any other part of the country.
And also, the question that why I raised these issues, so I looked and said, okay, I've heard positive things. Why don't I look and see what these positive things are? And again, I juxtaposed and I compared with counties. Potatoes don't grow on their own. They have to be grown. Okay? So they're not bushes. Now, one thing that the Nyandarua County is known for is potatoes. Now, let me say potatoes. Well, there's an issue here. It was in the media that they had even contracted certain individuals and organizations abroad. Now, this is a concept I found strange. Potatoes. Don't they grow their own potatoes? Until I talked to someone who works for one of these fast food outlets, and they told me they import their potatoes. I said, they do what? They import. I said, we grow potatoes here. There is a certain quality of potato that must meet a certain standard. Just like our flowers meet certain standards to be imported, so do potatoes. So if someone takes advantage of a natural resource that they have, a natural resource is like water in Mombasa. They didn't work for it, they just found it there. It's a natural resource. How much has this particular county government actually sought to benefit from that one resource that it has in plenty? They even don't have competition for it, it's just theirs. How much have they sought to ensure that there is employment of people within a sector that uses that natural resource to its maximum? What have they done to encourage, to incentivize? What are these? Because I'm saying if they had done, we would hear about it, we would know about it. That's why I gave the example of the potatoes which are growing in Nyandarua. How do I know about it? Because I know it's being grown.
Because you heard about it.
Actually, I do know it's being grown.
Right.
I've spoken
I
to
hadn't
people who
heard
grow it.
about it. Now, would it have been fair for me to come and say, no, Nyandarua, for example, is doing nothing about potatoes, yet potatoes are coming from Egypt for all these fast food chains?
I don't understand what you're saying, Eric.
Because just simply because you haven't heard about something doesn't mean that it's not being done.
I didn't say
Same way Ndu had not heard about or no. Were you aware about the Nyandarua project?
Wait, Eric,
with potatoes?
What I didn't know
the
about...
one that CT has just told us about.
What I didn't know about, I stated. And I even spoke of a strategic plan, a beautiful one, that the county of Mombasa has. I don't know many counties who have. That I don't know, but I know they have. And it's a beautiful one. In terms of the things I'm speaking about, they are beautiful. if implemented, man, Mombasa would be ahead of any other county you can think of in this country. Way ahead.
What's the progress of implementation? If you followed, have you followed up on the progress?
Yes, I have.
For example, on the blue economy, what is Mombasa County doing on promoting blue economy?
It's next to zero.
County.
Apart from receiving money
What
that
have you
is
followed up?
mentioned.
What are they?
Nothing.
What have they done?
Nothing that I know
as
of.
Mombasa County being one of the leadership of the Jumuiya counties of Pwani. What have they done
About the blue economy?
as a region on the blue economy?
Nothing that
they
I know
held
of.
a meeting in November last year as the Jumuiya. So those things that you're talking about, the economic
You ask
blocks.
me what have they
the
done?
Coastal Economic Bloc had a meeting the other day, and they were discussing the plans that they had in place. Right?
That's probably the third meeting.
The
they've
kind
had.
of stuff. The
money
kind of,
has even been released.
the
Just so that
kind
you
of things that
understand.
they have already started
what
doing.
have they done?
The kind of things that they already started
Like?
doing in terms of training of local people to take advantage of blue economy. What have they done?
What sort
with
of training, Eric?
What do you mean? What
You
sort
said
of
training. No, what sort of training? You said that to take advantage. What sort of training? Fishermen have been fishing. What are they training to do?
Training
Fish
on
more?
entrepreneurship? No.
Yes.
No. There's the
What
issue
sort of entrepreneurship?
There's the issue of using the mangroves for economic benefit.
And they didn't
Right.
know this.
Training, proper training,
Sorry.
structured training.
The trade
That
in mangroves
something.
is as old as the coast, Eric. What is this new thing that they were being trained in regarding mangroves?
If it's as old as mangroves, have they done it?
Mangroves,
They
Eric,
haven't
are
done
also
it.
protected, just so that you understand.
Yes,
Yes.
but there's also about growing the mangroves and ensuring that they grow. There's the issue of harvesting the things around the oceans.
They have been growing and
there's the issue
harvesting
of
mangrove for the longest time.
City,
Eric,
just
please.
because you have not sat down with somebody you sat down with somebody
You
from
have sat,
Nyandarua
tell us.
and they told you this, it doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Okay,
So
you
those are
have
the
sat,
things that I'm
tell
telling
us.
you, and you're telling me mangroves have been growing forever.
But they have.
Potatoes have been growing in Nyandarua forever.
Not
It's the same kind of
not
argument
the
I
type
give.
that meets international
There
standards.
you go. So there you go. So it's meeting the international standards. It's meeting the 21st day market and market demand.
Okay, Eric.
Same kind of thing.
Where do we export our mangroves to? If you're training people to enhance, essentially, you have a product, you're taking to the next level, isn't it? Yes. So locally, we know what to use it for. If you export it, then it means there's value added. Where do we export our mangroves to?
What we will do, yeah, because you're asking. I don't have those exact questions, those exact answers like you have,
Yes.
but I know that they have worked on something to do with the blue economy. I know for a fact.
Eric, the
and it's the same thing that we talk about.
I think the confusion lies, or rather the vacuum lies in the fact that most times what we say that is going to be done and what is actually done,
Never
it is
done.
a huge disconnect between the two, because there can be meetings, money spent, conferences happening,
Those happen all the time.
delegations sent,
Those
etc.,
happen
etc.
all the
But then the
time.
translation to the tangible, then oftentimes we don't actually see it, and that's the problem. We talk about development, and then on top of that, we still then have an entire administrative level that has no one working in a capacity in which they should be. And on the backdrop of all of that, this is then what we see. Of course, it's a cause for concern.
In that same region, you have a governor of a county called Kwale. He actually chairs this particular Jumuiya where county is Pwani, Vuria. Now, people talk about development on the coast, and that man's name pops up as being the person who has done not just tangible things that people can see, and that's why he's a two-term governor. Now, he's surrounded by MCAs and other political leaders who actually belong to ODM. But he is Jubilee. So that tells you, people figured it doesn't really matter which party this guy is in.
What he's doing for us is immeasurable.
Yes, forget the party. This guy helps everybody, irrespective of whichever party it stands out. That's the context I'm speaking of. You see, I took it far away, so I brought it home. You have someone who does things that people can point to and tell you, he has done this.
Has done this.
We've changed this. We've changed this. We've done this. We've done this. And you very rarely hear political temperatures rising in that particular county. Rarely. Very, very rarely. By the way, this issue of the port affects them as well. Huh?
It does.
They also have a serious waterfront. They're also part of the blue economy, right up to the border with Tanzania. Okay? Now, what is of significance is this. This isn't bash your governor day. No, this is call your governor out and say, you have a great county And there are many great things that could be done for this county, and they are not being done.
Yes, so here is 1, 2, 3, Baba, step up. Essentially,
Yes,
that's what we're saying.
If you want to have a future in politics and you want to have a big say in the political arena, then you'd better step up.
So let's see if people agree with you. Let's open up the phone lines. 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600. We're discussing Mombasa County this morning. CT Muga is basically taking a look at, for example, we have a county executive committee whose tenure has expired in November. The county governor has not appointed a new one. Time has lapsed now. He needs to appoint one and to take the names. He needs to nominate new names and take them to the county assembly for appointment. The county public service board as well is not existent because their tenure expired. And these are some of the things that CT Muga is saying. Some of these governors require some training to understand the importance of the job that they have, to understand the importance of their office. Do you agree with him? Do you not? Is Mombasa County being run smoothly, or is it not being run well? Good morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
The phone lines are open. 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600. CT Muga is quoting it by saying this is not a bash your governor day, but it's a day for us to talk about our Mombasa governor. And this Mombasa governor, among others, requires some training to understand the importance of their job. But we're not bashing him. We're just talking about the issues that happen. Do you agree with him? 0719 012 600. You can also join the conversation on Twitter at SpiceFMKE, Twitter at SpiceFMKE, on Facebook.
Well, yeah, definitely. I think regardless of how we look at it, there's always room for improvement. Or in this case, there's always room for establishment in the first place. For us to say that, yeah, okay, you may know your job but in terms of how many cases do we have of individuals who are sitting in certain positions and then it comes to light that, okay, we need you to fulfill a certain function, and it has become very clear to us that you're not versed in doing this. So what do? We send you on a training. We ask you to maybe sharpen your skills in this particular area. That doesn't take away from your ability or your capacity to function and operate. It just means that we're trying to enhance what it is that you already have, and then give us good reason to say that, okay, within this capacity or this position that you fill, do it a little bit better or do it lots better. It doesn't mean we're going to get rid of you. If anything, it gives us the impetus to bring you back again, maybe in an even larger capacity, because you've shown us then that you're able to function and that you're able to operate. But there's certain things that you do. You show us, okay, clearly here, there are bits and bobs that need to be sharpened, things that need to be worked on in order for us to get the results that we're looking for. So for me, absolutely, I don't think there's anything wrong. A problem that many people would have with training of governors is because they are seen as gods of particular regions who cannot be told anything. But in this case, need to be helped in certain areas to be able to make it better.
I work with doctors, medical doctors, and some of these doctors make some of the poorest administrators you can actually ever come across. They can administer to save their lives. The practice of medicine, they're fantastic at. But now managing this environment in which they work in, disaster. Not in the making, in the happening. So I sought to ask my colleagues one by one, what is it? And what turned out was the unit about management and administration is taught in public health. And that is the course many of them did not think important. So they didn't attend it. They hepared it in short.
Speak.
Yes. So now, the way our system was, if you join the government, you will be given an administrative post.
Let's take a caller. Yes. This is Otieno calling in from Nairobi. Good morning, Otieno. Otieno, good morning. Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
We're fine, thank you.
Yeah, I'm talking to you, and what I've discovered is that the problem of these governors is that they are not doing that the campaign on public relations. they're not showing people what they're doing. But all governors, 47 governors, are really working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm doubting if really no governor is working whatsoever the way we are made to believe. Just like in 1963, the way the Majimbo was dropped, that's what the type of campaign which is going on, that they want to drop this type of governance. That's why you are hearing all over that some governors are not working. They are talking of the corruption. Yet, even the national government does corruption.
And there are issues also at the national government.
Yeah, there are a lot of issues in the national government, but there's this concentration of bad faith towards the county government. Yeah, so you listen to people. The mind of people have really been bought, and you will see in future.
Mr. Otieno, can I ask you a question, if I may?
Proceed, sir.
We have problems right up to the family unit. Does it mean that because a family has problems that it isn't a family unit?
Of course, it's a family unit.
Precisely. So these things that we are saying are pointing out and saying, you could do better.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not that you're doing nothing. You could do better. Even the things that counties have done, we mentioned, they say they do these things, but we're saying in terms of service delivery to the people of those counties, you could always do better.
But also you should remember that doing better compared to who? This now
compared to other counties, actually.
Let's even keep it in Kenya.
All those counties have only 7 years, but you will hear some few individuals complaining to all counties. There's no county whatsoever within this nation that people are not complaining about.
Yeah.
That means all the time, I would say Kenyans, since I'm one of them, people will just complain even if you are doing good things. Where I'm coming from, I hear people outside talking ill about my county, and I've realized that when I went back home, I realized that really my county here is doing well. They are doing something.
Give an example of some of the positive things your governor has done.
Maybe just 3.
I will give you even 10, but because of time, I will give you 3.
Yeah.
For example, there's a good road network system which the county government has done, which was not there initially.
Which one is this, sir?
These are rough roads within the counties, which even if I name, you wouldn't know them. By the way, if you are not from that place.
So basically, they have upgraded roads. That's one. Number 2?
They have upgraded a good road system that I was very happy personally.
Right.
There's also a system on healthcare where they are building a new dispensary and upgrading the previous dispensary, I would say. Number 3, I would say the water system. They are bringing a borehole where they are upgrading the previous borehole and digging the new boreholes. I would say 3. Those are enough.
Those are good enough.
Those are positive things which I congratulate the government of Sia County.
Yep.
But all the time you will say
we're just bashing them,
saying that my governor is doing nothing.
Thank you, Otieno. Thank you very much for your call this morning.
Morning.
Have a good day. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. We'd like to hear from residents of Mombasa, voters of Mombasa as well. Let's hear what do you think about the performance of the government of Mombasa. If we have not seen, when there were issues, for example, with Taita Taveta and the county, the representatives of the people, the MCAs had issues, they bring it up to the fore. They try and impeach, or they even have motions to discuss some of the CECs. We haven't seen this in the County Assembly of Mombasa. We haven't seen demonstrations in Mombasa, people complaining and saying, we feel that the government is not performing the way it should. We have seen those things happening in Nairobi. Members of Parliament from Nairobi County have actually called a press conference and enumerated areas where they think the governor is not doing well. We haven't seen any of those things coming out of Mombasa.
Which county have we seen people demonstrating against the governor?
Against their leadership? Several, by the way.
I just mentioned 2.
We see people complaining about issues in Nairobi. I've told you, we've
demonstrating.
I
meant demonstrating.
We've seen leaders. We've seen leaders raising issue about the way affairs are being run in Nairobi County. We've seen leaders raising issues about Taita Taveta. We've seen leaders raising issues about.
You're saying MCAs, for instance. Okay.
And civil society organizations.
Okay.
Yep. We haven't seen the same thing happening in Mombasa. Questioning, for example, even demanding that there's a new new CECs to be appointed in Mombasa. They're okay.
There are parts of this country that don't have a history of that sort of industrial action.
Mombasa is in one of them.
No, not really. Until this issue of the lorries and so forth, or when there were mass demonstrations around the country, no, hardly. There are parts of this country where people actually do not demonstrate. You just go, they don't.
I think there's a certain element of
Mombasa
danger. I
has
think there's a
formation
certain element of danger.
even.
They do.
There's a certain element of danger that lies in saying because nobody is up in arms, then that means everything is okay. And I think that is what has been percolating in this country for a very long time. That because nobody is complaining, let's just carry on with the status quo. And you can't have that because you'll have things boiling over faster than you're able to handle them. Now, if we see that something is wrong, I think that we should, more than anything, be able to call it out and say, this is not the way it is supposed to run. Those who were policymakers and sat behind the driver's seat when they said these are the way the counties that we've now gone through the exercise of devolution, where they saw that it was best to run. I don't think that they were stupid on the day that they came together with that idea, and they knew why they were putting those tenets in place and why those recommendations were set. And I think there's some value in running.
There's something I want to raise here. You see, Eric talked about the blue economy, and I said that beyond the national Kenyan pastime of discussion and meetings, all right? If you're talking about a blue economy, you're talking about fish, you're talking about mangrove. Okay, I asked about exports. Let's leave that aside. Let's talk about fishing, all right? Do we ever post-harvest management? Okay, your fish. We always fish. There's lots of fish. Is there a tangible plan of what we do with the fish that we fish? Is there a plan for who fishes what? Because there are many types of sea animals, all right? Okay. Now, is there talk of access to new markets apart from internal consumption that we already understand? If there's all this fish that is available to us, is there such a plan? Because when you talk about blue economy and you talk about the funding for it, people who fund for these things are not talking about things that haven't been done before. They are talking about things that have been done. Now, there's a special economic zone that will be set up in a place called Dongoku. The Chinese are planning for it. It will create employment, all right? There's a revival of a Kenyan shipping line that we had before, all right? Beyond mentioning that they will be set up and that people will be employed. Nothing. Now, the governor is a custodian.
Of all of this.
Yes. Of all the interests that the people of that county have. He is the custodian. His office
essentially stops with him.
It stops with him. Now, if you're going to say that there is a problem of communication, then they should communicate.
There are various groups, youth groups in the coast region who have been doing things to do with the blue economy. In fact, one of the things that the Blue Economy Secretariat, the Jumuiya Secretariat was doing is to run what they're calling the Blue Hack 2019. And the objective of that is to harness social innovation and technology to contribute to coastal economic development in an inclusive and integrated manner. So basically they're saying, you youth groups, come and showcase what you've been doing. Right? Come and showcase, you participate in this, you showcase what you've been doing so that people get to know this is what you're doing and the kind of support that you require. Further, people will know this is the kind of support they require, either from private sector or as well from government. These are the things we're talking about. Anyway, it's coming to the end of the show. We have a conclusion.
We'll continue this discussion because there is what the issue is, the things that governments, whether national or county, say and what they do. There's a disconnect and a huge one.
We keep talking. See you tomorrow.
So let's see if money will be disbursed to the school system.
Let's see if by tomorrow the schools and the 35,000 schools that are waiting for this money will actually get it.
All right. So remember to join the adults in the room this evening. Emmanuel, Eric and Barbara, the Duchess of Ikolomani. They'll be discussing many issues on, social, the things that actually matter to families and society in the modern day society, the 21st century society. They have an interesting topic, of course, to discuss today. Also, Monique will be taking you home from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock on Spice Drive. Between now and then, you have uninterrupted music. We call it Spice Soul. This is uninterrupted music from the 80s and 90s. Beautiful stuff. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.